£1,000 will make someone a big... Good luck.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Labour's been accused of historic injustice.
Well, this is as the government refuses to compensate women born in the 1950s who were not aware of state pension changes.
The government does not believe paying a flat rate to all women at a cost of up to £10.5 billion would be a fair or proportionate use of taxpayers' money.
Well, despite multiple cabinet members previously pledging their support.
Here with the 5 towns and Yorkshire WASPI women. They've been running a great campaign on behalf of women right across this area but across the country as well. We've been so badly treated by this Tory government.
Oh, embarrassing. A new report into the summer riots warns that police must be better prepared for this. That's on the same day as the teenager charged with the Southport murders is due to appear in court.
The latest inflation figures are to be released any minute now. Will it be a Christmas miracle or more bad news for Labour?
Sarah Sharif's father and stepmother jailed for life over the 10-year-old murder that shocked the nation.
Drunk on Christmas pudding? Scotland is scoffing at the strict alcohol rules, which means they can't buy boozy Christmas desserts before 10 a.m.
Nigel Farage meets Elon Musk with rumours the tech tycoon could donate tens of millions of pounds to Reform UK. But should he stay out of British politics? Your views welcome.
And in sport, Keely Hodgkinson's won the Sports Personality of the Year award. Chelsea's Mykhailo Mudryk has tested positive for a banned substance, which means he's now banned. And who wants Marcus Rashford?
Hello there, good morning. A blustery and cold day for northern areas, milder in the south, though we are expecting outbreaks of rain. I'll be here with all your details.
Hello there, very good morning to you. 2 minutes past 7 o'clock. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Isabel Webster and this is GB News Breakfast.
We got some breaking news on the financial front just to deal with because this will affect Paul Coyte's salary and what he does with it. What have you got, Isabel?
Well, inflation has risen again in the 12 months to October, up to 2.6%. It increased to 2.3% last month. That was the highest rate in 6 months. Let's get the thoughts from Tom Slater in all of this, because this is more bad news on the economy for a government that is under serious pressure now.
No, absolutely. And if you look at all the other economic indicators that we've had recently, the very small contraction that we've seen over the course of the past 2 months. This seemingly is the coming home to roost of what's been called the kind of talking down of the economy, that because they wanted to come in and make such a fuss over the fact that they'd had such a terrible inheritance, that's actually dampened the kind of economic outlook and the prospects and the move for investment and so on. So this is going to be, again, another headache.
And it has a knock-on, of course, for interest rates, which has a knock-on for mortgages. So bad news for people. It's trying to make it relatable. Not only will people see prices rising in the shops, but it has a knock-on potentially for their mortgages.
No, absolutely. And that's something which is... We're not talking about the kind of scale that we saw over the last couple of years, where it was really, really painful for people. But given how difficult a period it's been already, any uptick like this is going to really hurt people
going
in the
the wrong direction. OK, thank you.
Thank you. I do have to say, Paul, when people talk about the inflation and effects on day-to-day life and whatever, you look at Christmas and it does put a bit of a damper on what you will drink, what you will spend, presents you will buy, people who are on that list for presents. You were saying earlier you were worried about had you got for everyone.
Yeah.
And you're thinking there might be a lot of people just missing the chop there on that one.
Do you think, though, people actually truly do think that and think... Because when it's like... There's a lot of think, I'll buy that, I'll buy that, I'll buy that, I'll buy that, and then worry about it afterwards. Because it is a huge worry. Yeah. Because so much money gets spent on Christmas.
We heard yesterday the story about a guy walking around with the card reader on Christmas Day, getting people to contribute because it was 75 quid a head, he reckoned. Serving up your Christmas dinner.
But that's
cheap,
that. But it's then the presents. You know, and how many would you limit it to a certain amount, or you can have... It's really tricky. Really tricky.
Is tricky.
Right, thanks for your thoughts. Top story today. The government has been accused of hypocrisy after denying millions of women compensation for changes to the state pension age.
Well, campaigners have said that almost 4 million people born in the 1950s were impacted by the government's decision to up the pension age for women come 2010.
The Work and Pension Secretary Liz Kendall has attempted to justify the decision.
The government does not believe paying a flat rate to all women at a cost of up to £10.5 billion would be a fair or proportionate use of taxpayers' money.
But there is anger amongst Labour MPs, the government accused of turning their back on pensioners.
Yeah, in 2019, Liz Kendall was pictured campaigning with the Women Against State Pension Inequality. So too was the Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner. And she had this to say in 2019.
We've said we'll right that injustice, and within the 5 years of the Labour government, we will compensate them for the money that they've lost. This is their money that they've had stolen off them, and it's completely unacceptable.
But apparently now it is very acceptable. So what changed? Let's get more on this with the editor of Spiked Online, Tom Slater, again on this one. Well, Tom, give us your take.
I think that there's two aspects to this, isn't there? One of which is the question of the finances in general. The Labour Party has been very keen to stress, as we've been talking about with the economic outlook more broadly, that essentially economic rectitude is the order of the day, and so they are very keen to not being seen to, again, just be almost spendthrift with these things, which sounds very heartless when you're talking about a clear injustice, but nevertheless, it's one of those things where if you look at the pay deals that have already been agreed, if you look at the existing compensation schemes for things like contaminated blood and the post office, this is one thing which
to be fair, it's not in the same magnitude as those lives lost and suicides and the like. And this is still a maladministration, isn't it?
It is, and but again, this keys into what we've seen from those pieces of footage there from Angela Rayner and kind of previous pledges. It's the question of a U-turn and inconsistency. Going into this election, the Labour Party didn't pledge to do anything specific about the WASPI women, but when asked about it, as Keir Starmer was a couple of years ago on the airwaves, he made clear which side he felt that he was on.
That's interesting, because he never really makes anything clear, but that's an unusual one.
And I think this is the thing that will come back to bite them, the sense that this Labour Party doesn't really stand for anything. To the extent that it does, it's beating up on pensioners. And that's an image of them, and which is really going to dog them as they go forward, particularly with older voters.
If I was a politician, there are things that are obviously right and things that are obviously wrong. And if it's the right thing to do, no matter what it costs, you should be doing that thing. And if this is unfair on those women born in the 50s, they were given notice, in fairness, they were given plenty of notice, and you could argue that a lot of this is their own fault as to the repercussions of this. But if it is the right thing to do, Labour have got to decide it is the right thing or else it's the wrong thing, and say it.
What about the issue of the Ombudsman in this as well? Are they ignoring what the Ombudsman was finding in this?
Oh, straightforwardly, because they recommended that this compensation should take place, and they've kind of openly overruled that. That's something which has become a particular sticking point for the campaigners. They're saying that this is...
What's the point of the Ombudsman if you're just going to ignore them?
Exactly. What is the point in the first place? And I think it also comes down to that kind of question about the fact that the Labour Party have very much kind of stood over the past few years as we are the much more moral party. We will do what is right. You've got the Conservatives, which are either penny pinchers or are morally suspect in some way, shape or form. I think what a lot of voters are realising is that often, when they get into government, the Labour Party, particularly in recent years, isn't that different from their...
Will Elon Musk decide who gets into government from here on in? How much influence would he be having? Because he's met with Reform UK, and the inference is that he could be bankrolling them.
Absolutely. So this is the $100 million or £78 million which has been floated. It's worth saying that he hasn't committed to that amount himself. That's just something that's been sort of bandied around. But with this meeting with in Mar-a-Lago between Nigel Farage and Elon Musk,
and
this is something which is... The spirit of Trump, exactly.
Included in that photograph.
In a very fetching cricket outfit
/
behind
tennis.
there.
I can't quite identify what he's
it's
sporting.
cricket. It's cricket.
Well,
it's so cricket.
is it? Well,
who is it? Is it Donald Trump himself?
It is. It's a young Donald Trump done up as a... And this is, in a way, this image, I think, is the kind of spiritual successor to the gold elevator.
That's what I mean, so it's a sort of wannabe
But he looks
cricketer.
as if he's playing cricket.
Yeah.
So very ever the Anglophile. And this could be incredibly significant. I mean, the kind of... If we're talking about the fund that's being bandied around here, which might not be to that same amount, £78 million. In 2023, all parties raised collectively £93 million in donations. So it tells you something about the kind of scale of the intervention here. What does Elon Musk get out of it? Influence, of course. He does seem particularly bothered by Keir Starmer and particularly concerned about the free speech situation in the UK. I think there's also just an element of mischievousness in this, the idea that you could land a blow against a political establishment in the UK that he happens to dislike. But naturally it raises questions about when you have a situation where one incredibly rich individual can so easily pour money into a particular political party and really change the facts of the game.
Our audience really see Elon Musk, Farage and Nick Candy together in that photograph as, and I quote them from our Your Say this morning, you know, the saviours of the West. We had the same from Paula London, that he is the only person who really believes in democracy.
Well, I understand that he cares about these issues. I don't doubt his sincerity when he says that he cares about freedom of speech. He seemed to buy Twitter, even though that seemed to be a kind of financial loss-making potential venture for him, because he thought it was the public square and that needed to be righted. He got behind Trump because he felt that that was really important as far as he was concerned for democracy. I don't doubt his sincerity, but at the same time, I think anyone who is concerned about democracy should raise questions about should the political fortunes of a particular political movement or party rest so much on how many oligarchs they manage to arrange behind them? Should the whims of those individuals dictate the nature of freedom of speech and the nature of democratic politics?
Many people have liked the fact that British politics isn't like American politics, where money sloshes around and you can't even get close to power unless you've got a huge...
That may change. That may change.
Indeed.
Tom, thank you very much indeed. We're going to reflect your views on this very, very shortly. And as to what you think, of course, we're running a poll and you can have an effect on this. The question today is...
Do you agree with the government's decision not to compensate women against state pension inequalities? Women, WASPI women. We'll have that live result for you just after 3 o'clock in Martin Daubney's show, but also our own little breakfast tally after 9 o'clock. And if you'd like to cast your vote, go to gbnews.com/poll.
OK, now it's time to get your weather situation. On her with the details.
A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's going to be a blustery day ahead in northern areas, then turning wet and very windy in parts of the south too, where it is going to be mild for the time of year. Particularly blustery across to the lee of high ground across the Pennines, where there is a yellow weather warning issued until earlier in the afternoon. And then there is going to be plenty of dry weather around to start, plenty of blustery showers around the northwest of Scotland, this falling as snow over the Scottish Highlands too. But then later on we'll start to see a change from the southwest, where we see more clouds spilling in and some outbreaks of rain, but still largely mild across the south, feeling chillier across Scotland though, particularly if you add on the wind chill. Now, as we head through into the evening, there should be some clearer spells, mainly to eastern parts of Scotland, but to the northwest, we're going to see plenty of those showers moving through. These showers are going to be blustery at times and falling as snow over high ground. Similar across Northern Ireland, we'll see those showers around coastal areas, but across parts of northern England, central and southern parts of England and Wales too, we are going to see more cloud and outbreaks of rain. This turning quite persistent and possibly quite heavy at times too, with the potential for some rainfall warnings, so do keep an eye on our website for those. This will slowly clear its way towards the southeast overnight through into Thursday, and we'll see plenty of clear weather to the north of this. Once again, though, still plenty of those blustery showers moving through around coastal areas, and it is going to be a cold night ahead. Unlikely to see a widespread frost as a result of the blustery weather, but a chance we could see some spots in sheltered areas. And then as we head through into tomorrow, there should be plenty of dry and clear weather around once that rain clears the far southeast. Still can't rule out those showers, though, moving through around western areas, and temperatures still feeling a lot colder for many of us as we head into the afternoon with those blustery winds. So saying goodbye to that milder weather, and particularly in exposed spots, it is going to be feeling chilly. That's it from me. Bye-bye for now.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, if I said the Great British Giveaway, what would you say?
£50,000 in tax-free cash is what I would say.
Oh, bring it on. Here it is.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year. Good luck.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Britain's Royal Collection of Art is one of the most important and largest in the world. And it's also one of the last great European royal collections to remain intact. And built up over many centuries, it has extraordinary depth. And curators have delved into its riches to produce an exhibition of Italian drawings between 1450 and 1600. There are household names here: Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci. Some of the drawings are complete works in themselves. Some are studies for images that would appear in much larger pieces, and some are anatomical studies which enabled these artists to draw the human form in all its perfection.
This is the earliest drawing in the exhibition of around 1450, and it's made by Fra Angelico, the great Florentine painter. It may seem an obvious thing to say, but we only have drawings like this if they have survived. And these drawings were not seen at the time as works of art. They were workshop studies. They were as functional as a hammer or a paintbrush, if you like, in the workshop. But the fact that a drawing would survive from 1450 to the present day shows that first it was useful, and it was a work that would have been referred to constantly in the artist's studio, and only later was it valued by collectors as an exemplar of the artist's genius, if you like, the way in which we might think of it today. So a drawing like this, which is in almost perfect condition, has got a history of being valued for different reasons from when it was produced to the present.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Nothing says Christmas like a traffic jam, does it? The AA has issued an amber traffic warning for 3 days in the run-up to the festivities.
You see, you could say, well, you could avoid the traffic jam. You just
stay home.
Stay
That's
home.
what I'm doing. But people are coming to me, so they have to take on the
they
traffic.
have to be there. But there you go, which is sad because it shows just how people don't live together anymore.
Yeah, we're all miles apart,
over the
scattered.
country, whatever it is. Anyway, millions of people travelling throughout the country for the festive period have been told to be aware. But should you take these warnings seriously?
Well, let's speak to Great Western Railway's spokesperson, Dan Paynes. Good morning, Dan. Are you going to tell us we should take the train instead?
Good morning. Well, we've got plenty of trains available to take you to where you want to go, particularly here on Great Western Railway in the southwest. There's some engineering work that Network Rail's having to do in the Paddington area for us. That means some changes. The train operators across the country are trying to get trains moving so that customers can get to where they go as easily as possible with the minimum of fuss.
Well, there are some train strikes, though, planned in the run-up to Christmas, perhaps not on your line, but, you know, they seem like cynical times of year to strike, don't you think, when people are just trying to get home and be with their loved ones? The trains are always a nightmare at Christmas.
Well, our focus is on getting those people to their loved ones and back from their loved ones safely here at Great Western Railway. We've not got any problems here. Other train operators may well be different, but really I can't talk to them, unfortunately.
No.
Yeah. Oh, it could be a dream. The train definitely could be a dream, but I'm now sort of wheelchair laden, and it's you rely on a lot of people to get you on and off. It's very, very difficult doing that. I just threw that in, not that it's of any concern to anybody, but there we go.
No, well, it's a consideration. Lots of people in the same position as you, Eamonn. I suppose it's good that we still want to be together at Christmas. You know, obviously you're from the rail, and I'm just trying to think about the AA warning here. But, you know, people probably should be prepared to spend long periods of time in close quarters with their families if they get stuck in this time of traffic. It's my idea of hell, to be perfectly honest.
I think it's one of those things, isn't it? Christmas is really busy. You've got lots of people moving everywhere. And actually, whether you're driving, whether you're on the trains, or even if you're taking a coach or a bus, it is likely to be busier than normal. Anyone that's gone Christmas shopping over the last 2 weeks has probably felt that all too well.
And what part of the country do you cover, Dan, with GWR?
We're covering most of the southwest, and we're covering those routes from South Wales, from Penzance, from Worcester, and Bristol into London Paddington this Christmas. So we're hoping to get as many people there safely as we can.
Well, good luck to you. We wish you all the best, and compliments of the season to you and yours, Dan Paynes. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
And staying with the season's theme, during Advent, as we count down to Christmas Day, we are hearing from church ministers right across the country, and every day they have a special message.
I think I would have made a good church minister.
Well, apart from you have to live a faultless life and be, you know...
Well, there's plenty of them.
Coity's laughing in the wings.
Plenty of them that don't. But I believe it's like playing golf, Paul. If you wear the gear, people think you can play.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
all the gear, no idea, I think.
What you're saying is you like the gear.
I'd look good in a cassock, I would say.
I think you
anyway,
look fabulous in a cassock.
Let's have a listen to this. Hear this news and rejoice. Here we go.
The GB News Advent Calendar, Day 18.
Hi, I'm Richard England, Vicar of Crofton Parish. I wonder how good you are at asking for help. Some of us find it quite hard. We take pride in doing things ourselves, even if it takes longer or proves unsuccessful. Asking for help seems like weakness. The Christmas story, though, is God coming to help us, to redeem us and our world from the mess that we've got ourselves into. But in order to acknowledge that, to recognize that, it means we have to be honest that we might need help. Christmas story says that help is here and hope has come, but it offers us a question and a challenge. Are we willing to ask for the help that we have been given?
And you can see all of those special Advent messages as Christmas approaches at gbnews.com/Advent.
OK. Paul Coit.
By the way, I think our poll of the day should Eamonn have been a priest?
Well, if I was, you know, in Dad's army, they have a prominent vicar or whatever it is, and then he has a verger with him or something.
Yeah, the verger. Yeah.
No, you could be the verger.
And I could be the verger.
Yeah, I'd have to be the vicar. I'd be the important one.
See, I always get confused with the hassock and the cassock. So the hassock is the pillow, right? And the cassock is what you would wear. Is that correct?
All I've ever heard of. I've never heard of a hassock.
Have you never heard of a hassock?
No.
Yeah, I think a hassock is that the pillow you kneel on? I believe that to be the case.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, look, we didn't think we'd learn about godly
Hello,
things
who's now
from
taken
you.
over as the main clergyman in the room.
Well, I think I've been scarred from life kneeling on wooden pews.
See, you never had a hassock.
No, I didn't have a hassock, no.
See, nobody ever brought up a hassock with you, and that was the problem. That's why you got such bad knees.
Well, OK, so good review, Sports Personality of the Year, and the winner is...
Thank you, I reckon so as well. I would have given a lovely speech.
More personality than it's not put together. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, I mean, it's Keely Hodgkinson is, you know, she definitely deserved it. There she is with the trophy. The speeches get shorter. See, the funny thing, if you get different sports in tennis, they're expected, like with the Australian Open, to then give a speech. Look at Andy Murray. Andy Murray speaks very well, and we'll go on forever. But Keely came up and said, I didn't expect this. I'm thinking, well, surely you must have done. Surely you must have had some idea you were going to win, because we all thought you were going to win.
Well, she's dressed to the nines.
She is, which is actually, I think it's like, it's a designer plus Nike are involved in the design of the dress as well. But she's I'm doing her a disservice.
No, she's a star.
Great athlete, and she is a star.
And it's a great story. You know, she's so... How old is she? 22?
22.
22, yeah.
22, and she's looking now... She's said she's done everything she's wanted, but now it's to break the world record, which has been standing since '83, which is going to be really difficult to do, but she's a superstar.
I was looking at some old footage of her, and it reminded me of when I was at school, because that's what I did, the sort of middle distance running.
Right.
And it's tough. It stays with you. Stays with you.
Because when you were running, you obviously had those Eastern Bloc runners that were probably all juiced up to the nines, and you never stood a chance, did you? So if only that was sorted out then...
I did very well, I'll have you know.
Oh, I see. Well, you weren't juiced up, were you?
If he hadn't become a priest, he could have been an athlete of global standing.
A running priest. I'm just thinking if there was any. Yeah.
Well, I do think what that tells you about life is always to have aspirations, always to think about things. People that, you know, tell you to stay in your box or whatever, that's all nonsense.
When I think of Keely, I think that the BBC did a really funny kind of mash-up of people trying to run at the speed that she runs at, and they had to wear harnesses as they were going on the treadmill.
That's right,
because they literally could not sustain the pace for more than 20 seconds, 45 seconds. And these are runners.
That's the thing.
And they were falling off, so they were in the harness. It really brought it home
that
for
feeling
me
of sickness
how
comes
good
back.
she was.
Getting a stitch. And...
the stitch. Remember, run through the stitch. And you don't realise how... It's like any sport. You don't realise how hard boxers punch until you see it live.
I wouldn't want to find out.
If you see it and it's like, whoa, and then you see runners, and look at marathon runners, and even for them to run just down to the end of the road, the pace they're running 26 miles, it's unbelievable when you see it. So this is why these sports people, they're unbelievable. I mean, they really are incredible. Luke Littler, 17 years old.
He's the darts player.
17 years old. He's in the middle of the World Darts Championship, which he's expected to win, and he's become a superstar. And he was asked, put into words, Luke, what it's like. And he said, it shows how well I've done this year. I've changed the sport of darts. All professionals have played a big part. And Alex Scott said, well done for being so modest. Well, it wasn't really that modest.
That was her stock answer. And she was sticking with it.
It was like, it wasn't really that modest. But the thing is, it was correct, because he has changed the world of darts. Everybody's paying attention to it that maybe they wouldn't have done before. And the World Darts Championship, it sells out literally in minutes now in the summer. And it's an incredible thing.
Keely's story, his story is absolutely captivating. I mean, I'm not someone drawn to darts, but
you know, the other thing is that a lot of the Sports Personality of the Year was based on parents and let's see you back as a kid. And they do that with Luke Littler, and this is where you're going to laugh at. They go, well, let's look back to when you were a kid. Well, 2 years ago. 2 years ago now.
still legally a child.
Because he is still legally a child.
I used to present the World Darts for the BBC.
Yeah.
And I did that for three years.
So the Lakeside, was it?
Frimley Green.
Frimley Green, sorry.
Yeah. And all I remember is the smells of alcohol. I mean, sport in those days was either sponsored by an alcohol or cigarette company. And so many people around it were just getting free fags all the time.
Well, darts has got to be the booziest sport of all, no? I mean,
but that's part...
I've been to the darts once, and it was like being on a stag do.
That's part of the experience.
I was frightened.
Do you remember that old sketch on Not the 9 O'Clock News, which goes back, and they go, and he's going up to the yucky, and it's a double whiskey. It's a double whiskey and a vodka. And then they would throw darts in the background while they were drinking, whereas Barry Hearn has changed it now. So although everybody drinks watching it and everybody has a good time, the actual darts players, it's always water,
yeah,
nothing
but they still
else.
don't look athletic.
Do you not think
they still look like they are living a hard life.
It's when they say athletes.
I think they look as if they're leading an easy life.
Well, what I mean is, you know, fast, like, I don't know, hard pie eating, and anyway.
The sort of stuff we'll all be doing over Christmas.
Well, exactly.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much indeed for that flavour and atmosphere of everything that's going on. We will go to the break after that.
We have Andrew Griffith coming on. He's Shadow Secretary of State for Business and Trade to talk about inflation and all the other stories of the day. See you in a moment.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Inverclyde, the A761 remains closed each way along Clunbrae at Port Glasgow after an accident on Monday night. The Port of Holyhead remains closed for repairs. Sailing suspended between Holyhead and Dublin. There are up to 3.5 delays being reported to the 2 p.m. sailing between Fishguard and Rosslare. In Pembrokeshire, the A477 is closed to high-sided vehicles over the Cleddau Bridge. In Herefordshire, the A4103 is closed off the A417 between Newtown and Shutnell after an accident in the early hours of Monday morning. In Gloucestershire, the A38 is closed south of Tewkesbury after an accident yesterday afternoon. In Wiltshire, the A350 is closed each way between Yarnbrook and Ashton Common after an accident last night. And buses replaced trains between Salisbury and Southampton Central via Eastleigh because of a power failure. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Let's go straight to politics and to Westminster, and we can speak to Andrew Griffith, who is the Shadow Secretary of State for Business and Trade. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us outside in the dark this morning. Can we start by taking a look at the inflation figures that came out around half an hour ago? We've seen inflation rise by 0.3% in 12 months to November. This is above the 2% Bank of England target rate and is the highest that it has been in 7 months now. It was on the decline under the Conservatives, wasn't it?
It was, and it's the second consecutive month it's gone up. It's gone up by about, the monthly rate has gone up by about 30% over the last 2 months. Every day this week we've had another economic statistic that's showing that Labour are taking the economy in the wrong direction. If you were flying a plane and you had so many metrics in the red, you'd be looking for the parachutes. Now, unfortunately, there aren't any exits on this plane, so we desperately need Labour to change course. If you're a farmer, a pensioner, a businessman, all of us are vested in the economy, and what we're seeing today is it's going in the wrong direction, cost of living going up, and that means that the Bank of England's less likely to cut interest rates, so interest rates, mortgages will stay higher for longer.
And could you honestly say, Andrew, if you were in power, these figures would not have gone up because you wouldn't have put the extra tax on employers, for instance, just as an example?
Yes, I mean, if we made very different choices, and this government's come in, and what they've effectively done is raise a huge amount of money from the productive private sector, and following their socialist doctrine, they're now spending that in the public sector. That of itself is inflationary, not something I'm saying, but something that the ONS said. They said that Labour's budget was going to lead to higher inflation. That's exactly what we're seeing. So it would be different under Conservatives, and as you note, we brought inflation down after that very difficult period of COVID and the higher energy costs in Ukraine. We did bring that down from 11.1 down to below the 2% range.
What would you do for these women who were born in the 50s and who are today seeking to have their pensions reinstated?
Well, look, what a massive betrayal and what hypocrisy. I'm not in government, so I can't say what exactly we would do.
Would you pay it or would you not pay it? Would you pay it?
Well, don't let the government off the hook. You had cabinet minister now after cabinet minister queuing up, having their photos taken with WASPI women, talking about what they would do. And just like pensioners over the winter fuel allowance, just like farmers over agricultural property relief, this is a massive betrayal.
Yes, but, we're not going to let them off the hook. You are not the government. We're asking you now that you are in opposition, would you have done the same thing? Because then, you know what, when you get into power, we can play this back to you. This is what people do when they're in opposition. They make promises and pledges that they can't keep. So nail your colours to the mast. Have they done the right thing?
Look, when you're in opposition, and when we're particularly in opposition as a result of, what was a devastating verdict by the electorate, it was partly because promises were made that could not be kept. So we're a long way away, sadly.
So what you're saying is you would have done the same.
As a responsible politician, someone who was a finance director in business, I'm not going to make promises today for an economy that we may inherit.
But the things that you would know generally, I mean, would you have paid the winter fuel allowance, for instance? I mean, these are the decisions they have to make. Now, they look like bad guys by not paying them. So tell me, are you the cavalry? Would you have paid?
Look, the bad guys bit here is going to the electorate on a false prospectus, is making people think that you wouldn't go and attack British farmers, family businesses, wouldn't take away the winter fuel allowance. Time after time, including on this programme, during the election, we had exactly those debates. And time again, Labour said they had no plans to do any of those things. Only yesterday, Keir Starmer was whipping his members of Parliament through the lobbies to put a 25 billion jobs tax on business. It mustn't let them off hook. This is a massive betrayal, and it's not about just the victims, it's not about just the money, it's about trust in politics, trying to win that election on a false prospectus and serially letting down all sorts of groups in society, including the WASPI women.
Can we talk about money in politics? We've got the faces of Elon Musk, Nigel Farage and Nick Candy, who's the Treasurer of Reform, on the front of a number of the papers this morning. A Conservative peer has said that Farage should be frankly embarrassed about accepting any money from him, that he would become a puppet of a foreign politician if he does. Do you agree?
No, look, Elon Musk is an accomplished businessman, enormously successful. He set himself the task of achieving some great challenges, and many of them he has achieved. He's left a big imprint already on the world. Now, he is concerned about things like freedom of speech. He's concerned about what he's called the woke mind virus. Actually, those are things that the Conservative Party has been fighting for. It's been Kemi Badenoch in government who was fighting about transgender rights for children, or the things that are happening around transgender for children. It was actually myself and people like Toby Young who are fighting against the cancel culture in banking. So if anybody's interested in fighting for those really important, some say existential, challenges of democracy today, I would urge Elon and others to look at the Conservative Party. There's only one party that day after day is providing opposition to this terrible socialist government, and that is, I'm afraid, the Conservative Party.
Yeah, but Elon Musk, if he does make this donation, is an existential threat to the Conservative Party, isn't he?
Look, the challenge that we've got right now is a socialist government. Day by day, the economic statistics, the cost of living increase that's gone up by 30%, that's been revealed this morning, but the business confidence survey from the Institute of Directors, the PMI survey about hiring. Day by day, the contours of this socialist government and the damage they are doing to the economy are being revealed. And I would just say to people, if you're concerned about socialist governments on the economics, if you're concerned about the attacks on freedom of speech and censorship, then come and talk to the Conservative Party. This is a reforming Conservative Party, getting back to our core principles, and we've got a really important job of work to do.
Thanks for talking to us today, Andrew. Andrew Griffith is the Shadow Secretary for Business and Trade, and he was speaking to us live there from Westminster. Thank you.
I should point out the Chancellor has been reacting to those inflation figures, and she's, instead of talking about them going up, is pointing to wage growth and says that since they've been in power, real wages have gone up at their fastest in 3 years, an extra £20 a week after inflation. Right, if you are in search of some winter sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Unsettled at times across western parts of Europe, with some strong winds and also some cloud and rain at times. Generally more settled as we head towards Greece, but some stronger northerly winds affecting Madeira, parts of Portugal and Spain, also dragging in some cloud, perhaps some showery outbreaks at times too. These could also feed into southern parts of France, northern parts of Italy too. Largely settled as we head towards Greece, plenty of sunny spells there, and it should be largely settled into the weekend, with temperatures remaining fairly similar.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This week is Chocolate Week, the ultimate celebration of everything rich, sweet and indulgent.
Yes, and we now have the best person in the studio with us to satisfy all of your chocolate cravings. We're joined now by master chocolatier Ollie the Choc. Ollie, really good to see you this morning.
Thank you for having me.
And you brought some of your chocolate in with you.
I did. I brought some tasting samples. You're very welcome to help yourself.
So what have you got here? Tell us.
So this is my signature chocolate. I call it the Holy Grail. It's got sea salt flakes, crushed Oreo, caramel fudge pieces, very Moorish.
I love a caramel and salt combo, just, you know. I feel like you see it everywhere now. Look,
you won't be disappointed.
Look, I want everyone to see a close-up of this one. Can we get a shot on this one? So this is Oreo, there we are, caramel and salt. Do you want to try some?
You go first.
Help yourselves. And then this bar of chocolate is a little bit of a wild card. That's a mystery flavour, so...
OK, I love a mystery.
I'm not going to tell you what that is.
Hold on this one. This one's amazing.
Are you?
Oreo, caramel.
That's my biggest seller.
I'll keep my palate clean for this. So this is a mystery flavour.
You've got to guess what that is.
Is that a nut in there, I see? Right, here we go. Ready?
I'm not saying anything.
Talk us through.
Very crunchy.
For me, I'm all about textures in chocolate.
Me too.
It has got a good crunch to it, hasn't it? It's not the kind of flavour that you would expect.
Oh, I can't get it.
Is it sweet? Is it salty?
No, it's salty, yeah.
It's
OK,
salty.
hang on, bit more.
OK.
Bit more.
I mean, just keep going.
Crisps? Wait,
It is crispy, it's crunchy. Could it be crisps?
I think it could be crisps. Yeah, it's crisps.
So what flavour?
Salt and vinegar. Cheese and onion.
Yes, nailed it. You know.
Oh, you're much better than me.
Love that.
Do you know what? I think I've got a bit of a cold, so my taste buds are
Oh, you're going to blame that, are you?
That's my excuse. That's delicious.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello to you during this festive season. Joining us now to go through the news and the stories that are making the news in the papers, former Liberal Democrat Minister Norman Baker and political commentator Paula London.
Shall we talk with the prospect of peace in the Holy Land this Christmas, Norman? The Independent Online talking about Benjamin Netanyahu. He, of course, has been in court this week, and he didn't appear in court, I think, on, what day are we now? On Monday.
Yes.
Because he said that there was a matter of national importance that meant he couldn't attend court, and that's got everybody expecting possibly a Gaza ceasefire. But actually, yesterday, he stepped into Syrian territory for the first time.
And this is rather worrying. Look, as a preliminary, let me say that no one can defend what happened to the attacking of innocent Israeli citizens, and the hostages obviously should be released. That's a given. However, the fact that they've been taken hostage does not, in my view, give the Israeli government a carte blanche to do anything it wants by way of return. And the most recent thing they've done now is to break an international agreement from 1974 to go into the demilitarised zone between Israel and Syria and to stay there for, apparently, they're going to stay there for a long time. This is on the back of the International Criminal Court putting out the arrest warrant for Netanyahu for his behaviour. From Amnesty International, which is a well-respected international organisation, issuing a report accusing the Israeli government of genocide, of 45,000 people in Gaza being killed, 64,000 dying of starvation because starvation has been used as a weapon of war by the Israeli government. And, of course, Israel is now taking advantage of the situation in Syria to go and destroy the Syrian Navy and use hundreds and hundreds of bombing activities on the country.
Well, Israel would say, I suppose, they're surrounded on multiple fronts by people that want to see them destroyed, and that they're acting in self-defence, particularly in Gaza, and their stated aim is to root out Hamas.
Well, look, Hamas and Hezbollah are not helpful players in the Middle East. And there are countries and there are individuals who want to see Israel destroyed. Israel has a right to exist, but so does Palestine.
And also to defend itself. Yeah.
Of course it has a right to defend itself, but Palestine has a right to exist as well. And the ultimate solution to the Middle East, which has been going on for decades now, the ultimate solution, which everybody knows, is a two-state solution where Israel is guaranteed security in its own borders and the Palestinians are given a state. That's what we have to get to.
But do you think we are any closer to peace? Because there were all these conflicting reports yesterday that Netanyahu was on his way to Cairo for these talks, which were then denied by Israel. But, you know, could the incoming Trump presidency actually bring about peace? Because he said he wants a deal by the 20th of January.
Yes, maybe they could. Let's hope so. But what the Americans at the moment say, Anthony Blinken has said to the Americans, is that whenever it looks like there's an agreement on peace between Israel and Hamas, Israel sets new conditions.
OK, let's move on and talk about health matters. Daily Telegraph reporting today that a bottle of wine a week is better, could be better than statins, taking statins, Paula.
I think this is wonderful news. I love a glass of wine, I'm not going to lie. And people that drink were often told it's so bad for you, etc., etc. And this is good news. I think for many years people always thought red wine was better than white wine, but it doesn't say whether it's red or white.
It must be red.
But I think anything in moderation is fine. And, you know, especially at Christmas, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a drink as long as you're not addicted.
It's interesting that they're looking at the Mediterranean diet. I mean, we hear it time and again, don't we? What's the blue zone? These people who live the longest in the Mediterranean who actually have a glass of wine every day.
I think the Japanese live the longest, though.
The Japanese have a fish diet, which is good. And there's oily fish in the Mediterranean, and lots of olives and lots of wine. Sounds like a nice experience to me.
I know, but we can't do moderation, can we?
Well, I'm eating very healthily at the moment. I've actually given up smoking as well.
Wow.
So, yeah, I've been taking, you know, Wegovy, and it's made me not want to drink a lot or smoke.
Skinny jab.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I took it just to stop me binge eating because I used to, like, eat lots of packets of Haribo and things and just binge eat. And now I just eat normally and I just stopped smoking. I didn't feel like smoking, and I never even actively tried to.
Actually, sticking with that topic, as we go through the papers, the Times is talking about microdosing these skinny jabs, that people are taking it for a couple of weeks and then being normal again, and actually helping them to maintain
Well, that's what I'm doing.
Weight.
I'm on a low dosage now. I'm just going to keep that, and my weight stayed the same for about 2 months. So
interesting.
Anyway, I think it's much more fun to have a glass of wine than take a couple of statin pills.
Disturbing story in The Guardian about the Pope, and it reveals that British spies foiled 2 attempts to blow him up while he was visiting Iraq.
Is this recent?
Yes, 2021.
Oh, my.
It is, and it's interesting for 2 reasons, I think. First of all, the fact that had those attempts been successful, one of them being successful, one was a female suicide bomber, and the other was a truck heading towards the papal visit, or the location of the papal visit, with explosives on board. I mean, can you imagine the consequences for the world and peace if that had been successful, blowing up the Pope? That would have been horrendous.
Well, what do you...
He shouldn't have gone.
Catholic, would the assassination of the Pope have an impact on world peace? Has he done enough to bring about peace in the world?
He hasn't, but I mean, the symbolic nature of blowing up the Pope would have been so significant. A bit like Archduke Ferdinand in 1914. These things lead off to...
the world was much more Christian then.
Well, it was. But I mean, the point is that you pick a key figure and assassinate them, and that has unwanted and unforeseen repercussions. The other thing that's good about the story, I think, though, is the fact that the British secret services were aware of this and were able to thwart it, and that's a tribute to our secret services.
Absolutely.
That's the case.
I think it's quite sad that he's bringing this up now because nothing is sacred anymore. Everything seems to be commercialised. He's talking about these attempts because he wants people to know about his autobiography that's coming out. So he's leaking some details. I think that's a little sad, to be honest with you.
Oh, dear.
Nothing is sacred with the Pope.
I know. Nothing now.
Let's turn to Adele, shall we? She's been accused of plagiarism. Is this just what happens now if you are a megastar? We've seen it with Ed Sheeran. Or is this a legitimate challenge? Paula, this is in the Times, page 3 today.
Yeah, this is actually very, very interesting because she's been accused of this quite a few times. But this court have said that now she cannot earn any money from the song. the song, I think it was, what was the song called? It was about 15 years ago, this song, but she's not allowed to play it now anywhere around the world.
1 million years ago. That's not how long the song was. That's the title of the song.
Yeah. She cannot play it anywhere around the world now, and if she does, she'll be sued. And the Brazilian songwriter who is saying that the song is similar to his song, he now wants $160,000 in moral damages.
Moral damages.
And he wants a percentage from here
he wants
on
a
in.
percentage. The thing about this is that there was a Turkish claim against the song when that came out as well. So people just latch onto these things and see the opportunity. I remember back in the old days, there was a claim against George Harrison for My Sweet Lord. And it was alleged by Gofford and King, the songwriters of He's So Fine by the Chiffons, that George Harrison copied He's So Fine, My Sweet Lord, on the basis of that. There are only so many notes. There are only so many chords.
Exactly.
There's 60,000 downloads a day or whatever else on new songs on Spotify every day. You're going to end up with coincidences. And, you know, the idea that George Harrison copied My Sweet Lord or Adele's copied this particular Brazilian thing, I think is ludicrous.
Now, I know about your fascination with music that you've got. What about here at Christmas time? There are all the obvious songs that people will adhere to and talk about. Is there anything that you're aware of that is worth a listen at Christmas or that people are particularly drawn to at Christmas?
Well, I mean, there's lots of songs that people like. I mean, I like Last Christmas by Wham, I think is a really nice number. Yeah. And that symbolises a lot of things for me.
So that's, what, 40 years old, isn't it?
That's near enough 40 years old, yeah.
And it didn't get #1 until after he died.
Is that right?
That's
I didn't
so
know
sad,
that.
I think he got pipped to the post by the Live Aid, Do They Know It's Christmas? Came out the same year and only became #1 after he died, which is so sad. But it is, to me, an absolute Christmas classic.
Yeah, yeah. And the Chris Ray one about driving home is very popular.
Yeah, I like a bit of Mariah.
What is there to like about Mariah? There's nothing to like about Mariah.
What's that Christmas song? I can't for the life of me. What's that?
All I want for Christmas is you.
Well, that's lovely. A little short skirt.
It's lovely, but she's not lovely.
No, I don't care about her.
But you do. I can't listen to anything she says, having met her on a couple of occasions.
Oh, please tell us what she was like.
Tell us the gossip.
No, please.
I went to interview her, and basically, cut a very long story short, where she kept me waiting 4 or 5 hours, and she was lying on a chaise longue. And I went over and I lay down beside her, and her entourage went ballistic. What's happening? What's happening here? What's going on here? I said, I'm just lying down beside Miss Carey. Miss Carey's very tired. She can't do this interview. I said, she's very tired. I've been up from 4 o'clock this morning. I did breakfast television, and she's kept me waiting 4 hours. I said, so I think I can lie down here. And they said, this can't happen. You've got to get up. I said, look, listen, there's the only way this interview's going to happen. Either she sits up with me and I sit up, or we both lie down. You make your choice. The interview didn't happen.
Oh, dear. Was it her that was allergic to the fabric of the sofa as well? Kicked off about the fabric of the sofa? Is that some other superstar?
No, it might have been somebody else. Don't know who.
OK, so we think this is all the rage. What about AI, Norman?
Well, this leads on nicely.
This is just briefly, but this is on the same theme, really.
This is on the same theme. And I should say this is Paul McCartney, who is... who I'm going to see tomorrow night at the O2.
Oh, are you?
Are you? Looking forward to that. He's saying that AI companies could be given the right to take away works without permission, and he's saying it's all wrong, which I totally agree with.
Well, we'll discuss that more next hour. Thanks both. Here's Anna Krizik with the weather.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's going to be a blustery day ahead in northern areas, then turning wet and very windy in parts of the south too, where it is going to be mild for the time of year. Particularly blustery across to the lee of high ground across the Pennines, where there is a yellow weather warning issued until earlier in the afternoon. And then there is going to be plenty of dry weather around to start, plenty of blustery showers around the northwest of Scotland, this falling as snow over the Scottish Highlands too. But then later on we'll start to see a change from the southwest, where we see more clouds spilling in and some outbreaks of rain, but still largely mild across the south, feeling chillier across Scotland though, particularly if you add on the wind chill. Now, as we head through into the evening, there should be some clearer spells, mainly to eastern parts of Scotland, but to the northwest, we're going to see plenty of those showers moving through. These showers are going to be blustery at times and falling as snow over high ground. Similar across Northern Ireland, we'll see those showers around coastal areas, but across parts of northern England, central and southern parts of England and Wales too, we are going to see more cloud and outbreaks of rain, this turning quite persistent and possibly quite heavy at times too, with the potential for some rainfall warnings, so do keep an eye on our website for those. This will slowly clear its way towards the southeast overnight through into Thursday, and we'll see plenty of clear weather to the north of this. Once again, though, still plenty of those blustery showers moving through around coastal areas, and it is going to be a cold night ahead. Unlikely to see a widespread frost as a result of the blustery weather, but a chance we could see some spots in sheltered areas. And then as we head through into tomorrow, there should be plenty of dry and clear weather around once that rain clears the far southeast. Still can't rule out those showers, though, moving through around western areas, and temperatures still feeling a lot colder for many of us as we head into the afternoon with those blustery winds. So saying goodbye to that milder weather, and particularly in exposed spots, it is going to be feeling chilly. That's it from me. Bye-bye for now.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Inverclyde, the A761 remains closed at Port Glasgow after an accident on Monday night. The Port of Holyhead remains closed for repairs, with sailing suspended between Holyhead and Dublin. In Herefordshire, the A4103 is closed off the A417 between Newtown and Shutnell after an accident. There are delays of up to 3.5 hours to the 2 p.m. Stena Line sailing between Fishguard and Rosslare. In Pembrokeshire, the A477 is closed to high-sided vehicles over the Cleddau Bridge, and the M48-7 bridge is closed with diversions by the M4 Prince of Wales Bridge. In Wiltshire, the A350 is closed each way between Yarnbrook and Ashton Common after an accident last night. The M20 in Kent is partly blocked westbound by an accident just before Junction 3 for the M26, with queues from Junction 6 at Maidstone, and hover travel sailings to and from the Isle of Wight are suspended between Southsea and Ryde because of poor weather conditions. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
You could be good luck.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, very good morning to you on this Wednesday morning. Labour has been accused of historic injustice.
And that's as the government is refusing to compensate women born in the 1950s who were not aware of the rise in the state pension age.
The government does not believe paying a flat rate to all women
at a cost of up to £10.5 billion would be a fair or proportionate use of taxpayers' money.
What do you think? Let us know. Despite multiple cabinet members previously saying they were against all this and they want these women paid.
Here with the 5 towns and Yorkshire WASPI women. They've been running a great campaign on behalf of women right across this area but across the country as well. We've been so badly treated by this Tory government.
Breaking within the past hour, inflation has increased to 2.6%, up from 2.3%. The Lib Dem leader, Ed Davies, standing by for his reaction to that in just a moment. Earlier, the Shadow Business Secretary, Andrew Griffith, had some strong words when we spoke to him about it.
Every day this week, we've had another economic statistic that's showing that Labour are taking the economy in the wrong direction. If you were flying a plane and you had so many metrics in the red, you'd be looking for the parachute.
A new report into the riots which took place in the summer warns that police must be better prepared for violence. That's on the same day as the teenager charged with the Southport murders of those young children is due to appear in court.
Nigel Farage has met with Elon Musk with rumours that the tech tycoon could donate tens of millions of pounds to Reform UK. But should he be staying out of British politics? We're debating that this hour.
Drunk on Christmas pudding? Is it possible? Why is it possible? Scotland scoffs at the strict alcohol rules, which means that in Scotland you can't buy a dessert, a Christmas dessert with alcohol in it before 10 o'clock in the morning.
Just buy it the night before is the answer, isn't it? In the sport, Keely Hodgkinson has won the Sports Personality of the Year award. Chelsea's Mykhailo Mudryk has failed a drugs test. And how much would you pay for a World Series home run game-winning baseball?
Hello there, good morning. A blustery and cold day for northern areas, milder in the south, though we are expecting outbreaks of rain. I'll be here with all your details.
Well, there they go. 2 minutes after 8 o'clock on this Wednesday morning. However you're watching, however you're listening, however you're getting in touch, a very good morning to you. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Isabel Webster, and you're very welcome. This is GB News Breakfast.
So, Paul, you think if you lived in Scotland and you wanted to buy this alcohol-ridden pudding...
shoveling in this pudding, yeah.
Your way round it would be?
Night before, yeah. I'd buy probably about 10 puddings the night before, and then if I wanted to start early, then I'd start shoveling in the pudding then.
The point is, you see, a lot of people are very organised first thing in the morning, and they're up at 7 o'clock and they're out there in the supermarket before any crowds arrive, and they think that's the way they want to do it, and they would have everything done and dusted by 10 a.m. They don't want to wait until 10 a.m. and have to rub shoulders with the great unwashed.
Absolutely, especially with Isabel in those shoulder pads. You don't want to rub shoulders with her because she'll knock you off the aisle. And also don't set fire to the pudding because then that will burn the alcohol off, and then maybe that's what they need to do.
So there you are, alcohol-ridden puddings in Scotland.
Puddings.
Are you badly...
Alcohol-ridden puddings.
Are you badly affected by them? I doubt the leader of the Lib Dems, Ed Davey, is. Ed, a very good morning to you on this, but you are standing by.
Good morning, Eamonn.
Good morning, Ed. Ed, you're going to talk today about something that's very, very close to my heart over the past couple of years, and that is a carer, the work that carers do, and being dependent on carers, people who are dependent on them, and people who actually do it. What is the point that you're trying to make today?
Well, Eamonn, you're right. Liberal Democrats have been talking about the importance of carers and the amazing thing that carers do. We're focusing particularly on young carers today. You may have heard we've got a Christmas single, Love Is Enough, with the Young Carers Choir and Bath Philharmonia. Your viewers can download it, help us get to Christmas #1. But it's all about raising awareness of young carers who do an amazing job, often miss out on education opportunities, often have mental health and well-being issues because they're under such stress. And through our single, Love Is Enough, we're trying to raise awareness and also raise some money for the Carers Trust charity that does so much for young carers, and the Bath Philharmonia and their Young Carers project. So that's what we want to talk about today, Eamonn.
It's a neglected subject, though, because, I mean, and I'm one of the people guilty of it, but as I say, I'm very dependent on carers over the past 2 years because of an injury that I have had. But the idea that they're needed, they're not rewarded, and the state can't provide all the care needed, they're very, very necessary, these people.
Eamonn, you're so right. People who they're giving care to, you've experienced that yourself, but also the carers. And I'm not talking about social care workers who work in our care homes, do a fantastic job. They need better treatment. I'm actually talking about family carers, people who are looking after their loved ones. Could be their mum, their dad, their husband, their wife, their kids. And I've been a carer much of my life. My dad died when I was 4, so when my mum became terminally ill with cancer, I nursed her as a teenager for 3 years before she died. Then I looked after my wonderful Nana when she got frail and elderly, and now I look after my disabled son. So I've got quite experience of caring, and what that's taught me, I've been quite fortunate, to be honest. I have a loving family, and we've not been badly off, but it's taught me that there are literally millions of people caring. There's a million young carers, but different estimates, but 6, 7, 8 million people looking after their loved ones at home. They save the taxpayer, some estimates suggest almost as much as £200 billion. Extraordinary, isn't it? And if we don't get behind them, I think we put more pressure on the NHS.
Yeah, Ed, I've heard you talk about this before, and almost at times you feel you have to be slightly apologetic, like, well, we were okay, but we had to have a care and we paid for this, and and you're slightly apologetic about the whole thing. And one of the things I want to say, anyone who does it, and no one's doing it for financial reasons, but the idea that they are needed by the whole family, not just the person there, and the idea that anyone who does it must have to have such a resolute mind to divorce themselves from the practicalities of all of this, because they look at the person who's got the injury, who's suffering, who's got the illness, and the instinct with most normal people is, oh, this is too much. Having to have the patience and the love is extraordinary. It's a gift in itself.
You're absolutely right. It does require huge amounts from individuals. I mean, I remember when I was a young carer, and I've heard stories of the many other young carers I've met. You go to school and you can sometimes feel a little bit isolated, even get a little bit bullied because you're thinking about your loved one at home. I used to think about my mum when I was at school, and obviously my mates were talking about what was in the charts, what was on TV, and all the rest of it, and I was missing out on that. Now, I don't feel sorry for myself because I was lucky. I had a loving mum. She was amazing. She prepared me for when she died. But there are a lot of young people out there who are struggling, but they're doing amazing things. And I also want to celebrate carers, by the way. I want to celebrate family carers because I found you get a real bond with your loved one. I used to speak for hours with my mum on her bed, so you get a great bond. And also you learn things about yourself. You become quite resilient. You become quite empathetic. You manage your time pretty well. So I want to celebrate young carers, and please, I'm going to push it again. Love Is Enough is our single. Download it. Help us get to Christmas #1, and help us raise some money for these amazing young people.
It's impossible not to be moved by your own personal story. I have to say, whether people are Liberal Democrats or not, it is an inspiring story, and we pay tribute to you for that. People, I suppose, possibly even on this channel, know you best for things like this single, going out of the normal sphere that politicians sort of inhabit, if you like. During the election, we saw you doing all sorts of things, whether it was skydiving, windsurfing, splashing here, there and everywhere. And you are the third biggest party in terms of parliamentary seats, and yet it is Reform who are really trying to take up that space at the moment and become the third most important and personally talked about in terms of headlines, and possibly even in terms of votes, that is elbowing you out of the way. And I look at the front of the papers this morning and we see the leader of Reform, Nigel Farage, and his treasurer at Mar-a-Lago meeting with Elon Musk. Now, if this donation does happen, that's you done for, and possibly even the Conservatives. What do you make of the involvement of a foreigner in terms of donations, albeit legally through a British arm of his own company? Do you have concerns about it?
Well, first of all, about the Liberal Democrats, we've had our best election year for over 100 years. 72 Liberal Democrats who are in Parliament providing the real opposition to this Labour government. You know, I'll let Reform speak for themselves and how they are raising and funding their party. Liberal Democrats for a long time have believed we should be taking big money out of politics. We don't think that helps our democracy, and I don't think it's right, and I think most of your viewers will be worried about big money coming into politics. I want, as Liberal Democrat leader, to talk about our reforms, whether on that or whether on care or whether on the cost of living. We've heard inflation going up again today. I'm worried that the government has let down pensioners with taking away the fuel payment. I don't think they're doing a good job for our farmers.
Yeah.
And my job as Liberal Democrat leader is to focus on those issues.
Yeah.
We've been doing that, and I think we've been the ones providing the real opposition to this government.
OK, well, on the issue of pensioners, specifically the WASPI decision that was taken by the government yesterday, despite having promised when in opposition that they would indeed compensate these women who missed out on significant chunks of what was owed to them, you know, betrayal, a U-turn, very similar, a lot of people would say, to what the Liberal Democrats did with tuition fees.
Well, you learn your lessons, but what's particularly relevant for the WASPI pensioners, these women who've campaigned for a long time, is they had an independent review with the Ombudsman. The Ombudsman looked at this subject for 5 years and focused on the period back in the last Labour government when the DWP failed to notify women, and many of them just didn't understand what was going on and weren't aware of it. And it's the independent ombudsman that's made these recommendations. I think the government needs to look at this, needs to change its mind, actually. I think people will be rather alarmed, and I'm afraid it tells a story about governments of all persuasions, actually, about how they respond to scandals, whether it's the Windrush scandal, the Horizon scandal, the contaminated blood scandal. And when eventually it's clear that what happened, what went wrong, governments drag their heels on compensating people who have clearly been wronged by the state. And I think if the state wrongs an individual, the state needs to put that right.
Even if that means increasing taxes, because they're saying there just isn't the money for it. And I know the Liberal Democrats were happy to increase our tax burden.
Well, we weren't actually going to increase any one individual's tax burden. We were asking the big banks to pay a bit more. They're making huge profits. We were asking the oil and gas giants and the big tech companies to pay more. We weren't asking ordinary people to pay more because of the cost of living crisis, which the Conservatives, I'm afraid, brought in. And, it's bad news on inflation rising today, but the Conservatives really caused much of this mess. So you're asking about how to pay for it. We put forward ideas which wouldn't raise taxes on individuals. You can also look at precedents when there's been these one-off compensation payments. They've often been paid by a one-off increase in borrowing, but that hasn't led to long-term increases in borrowing, which would be economically worrying. So we can do this. There's a political will to do it, and I'm just disappointed that after 5 years of an independent ombudsman, the WASPI women aren't getting the justice they've campaigned for.
Yeah.
Okay. Could we campaign, Ed, once again for that single to get to #1 for Christmas? What's it called? Who's it by? And how do we get it?
Thank you, Eamonn. It's Love Is Enough. It's by the Young Carers Choir with the Bath Philharmonia, featuring Ed Davey, and you can download it from iTunes and Amazon, and you can give 99p, just 99p, to the Carers Trust and the Bath Philharmonia. You can enjoy a brilliant, wonderful single. The lyrics are really moving. It's all written by the Young Carers themselves.
Yeah.
So, Eamonn, I'm sure you're going to download it, aren't you?
I'm going to download it right now, my friend. I'll go and get that. And
thank you.
And good luck for campaigning for these young carers. Congratulations to these young carers in doing what they do. It really is God's work. Thank you very much indeed, Ed Davey. Happy Christmas. Compliments of the season to you. Thank you very much.
Happy Christmas to you. Yeah, and to you.
Thank you. Just a reminder, we'd love to hear what you guys at home think on our big issues of the day. Our poll of the day today is...
do you agree with the government's decision not to compensate women against state pension inequalities? We'll be bringing you the results as the vote changes throughout the day. Martin Dobney will announce what you think on his show this afternoon.
And to cast your vote, you just need to go to gbnews.com/poll.
Ed Davey was talking about Love Is Enough by the Young Carers Choir. What a fantastic thing that those young people
His
do.
story, I mean, it never fails to move me. I've heard it before, but, you know, 4 years old, lost his dad, nursed his mother as she died in terminal decline, nursed his nana as she died, and now cares for his disabled son. Whew, that's a lot for any person. What a story.
8:15 is the time. A very good morning to you. A police report has found that officers were unprepared for the scale of the summer riots, which followed the fatal stabbing of those 3 young children at a dance class in Southport.
Well, that's as the teenager Axel Ruda Cubana, who's been charged with their murders, is set to appear in court today. Joining
us now, retired police officer of 31 years and a founder of police campaign group Protect the Protectors, and that is
Norman Brennan.
Hiya, Norman.
Good morning.
Norman, this is, you know, this is sad news that we have to bring here and talk about all of this. But what do you think about what's going on today?
Well, to be quite honest with you, Eamonn, the police have lost the streets of Britain. It's not their fault. We've got a very angry, volatile nation that feel pretty lost themselves. They don't get a police response. Their crimes are not investigated. They're spoken to on the phone, and many walk away with just no more than crime numbers. So the police have lost a lot of support. They're still respected, but they can barely cope with everyday crime, let alone riots.
Do you know, Norman, I don't know what you think, but I just get quite angry there even is an inquiry into this. We know what the problem is. We all can see that. Any police officer will tell you about being under-resourced and what's expected of them. So it could be easy to put right. We don't need a blooming report into it, do we?
No, we don't. What we need, Eamonn, is we need, if I was the Home Secretary, knowing what I know after 46 years of policing and law and order, I would employ 8 sets of 250 police officers, 8 different groups around Britain. Every single one is public order trained. 10 dogs are attached to each one, 10 firearms officers. So each of these units can actually go into towns and cities and villages where crime is rife and deal with it effectively without taking away from the limited resources that force has. And should there be a public order situation, these 250 units can join up in multiple units and go to where they're needed. And what I will say is this, I followed the riots after Mark Duggan, and the Met and the country could barely cope. I'm almost certain, and it can happen any time in London or any other place in the country.
And indeed,
if there
Norman,
was another shoot,
it's waiting to happen.
Oh, it is. It could happen. Look at Hare Hills. The police officers went to support social services to extract children. Well, we've just talked about Sarah Sharif. You know, the police have got a difficult job, so has social services. What happened? The police went there because social services were in fear. The police were attacked, and we all saw the police run away. It was a dreadful look. But the thing is, there were so many hundreds, if not thousands, of angry people throwing bricks. The police were not prepared for that, so they ran away. Whoever made that decision possibly saved the police officer's life. And when you look at police resources, you now have level 1 and level 2. Level 1 are the ones who are in the vans. Level 2 are officers dragged away from the beat to jump into those vans. We do not have enough officers. We do not have proper leaders within policing. Many are more interested in appeasing certain people in certain communities. So the police have almost got their hands tied. And guess who suffers at the end of these riots? Hundreds of police officers injured, many of them seriously.
Yeah, and this report paid tribute to specifically their bravery and personal sacrifice and pointed out that, as you say, 302 officers were injured, more than 50 needed to head to hospital. It was female officers and those from minority backgrounds that were disproportionately attacked in the brunt of those attacks. And that in many cases, these police officers were sent out without the suitable protective clothing because they just weren't prepared for this. So there they were trying to stop these buildings from being set on fire without any, you know, proper armour protection, which is a terrible situation for people who are just going to work to do their job before returning home to their own families in the evening. And it won't do anything to attract people into the force, will it?
Well, it don't. You've got more police officers leaving now than joining. And you remember the fanfare about the 20,000 new officers? Were they the ones that were replacing the 22,000 that Theresa May and David Cameron stole? And it was when those two people crippled policing by reducing so many numbers that the police actually lost the streets. We've never regained them. I don't see it happening anytime soon. And even the smoke and mirrors of the new 13,000 officers, they're not new. 3,000 are from already existing officers being dragged away from already depleted units. 4,000 or 5,000 special constables. They only do 4 hours a week, you know, and they work for free. And PCSOs. And now she's come in and says, we are reducing the budgets for all police forces, so we're going to lose more than what the public think that they're getting.
It's depressing, Norman. It's just depressing. Yeah. Well, let's hope it's put right. Thank you for your thoughts on the subject, Norman. We appreciate speaking to you this morning. Thank you very much indeed.
Right, with the time at 8:20, let's take a look at some of the other stories coming into the newsroom this morning. Luigi Mangione, the 26-year-old accused of killing the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson earlier this month in New York, has been charged with murder as an act of terrorism. The Manhattan District Attorney labelled the attack a frightening, targeted murder that was intended to cause shock and garner attention.
Elsewhere, a study has found air pollution has been linked to increased risk of hospital admissions. Scientists reveal that regular exposure to nitrogen dioxide is associated with disorders including depression and psychosis.
Adele has been ordered to pull her hit track Million Years Ago following an accusation of plagiarism by a Brazilian composer. The judge on the case demanded the song be removed from all streaming platforms and that sales be stopped. Adele's representative Sony and Universal Music have been contacted for comment but haven't yet done so. If I said Great British Giveaway, what would you say?
I would say great happiness. Good to get away from all the depressing news that there is around, because you could be the winner of an incredible £50,000 tax-free, courtesy of us.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
It's about Generation Z spending 6 hours a day online. Generation Z, which age group is that?
16 to 24.
OK, great.
Now, this could explain why there's 1 million young people aged between 16 and 24.
100%.
Not working.
In work.
Yeah.
And
I did a TV show and we're talking about, and the lefty person I was on with was making excuses for the fact that we've got 9 million people unemployed. And this woman, this mum, rang in and she was hilarious. And I thought she was going to have a go at me. She said, Carol Malone. I thought, here we go, another one. And she goes, you are absolutely right. She said, I've just thrown my son out of the house, who's 24. She said, my husband and I, she said, we worked all our lives, 2 jobs, to get him to college, to get him to a private school. Yeah. She said, he hasn't worked a day. No. And his attitude was, why should I? And you think, and she said he spends all day online.
On his phone.
All he's
because
doing.
we would have gone to get a job because we were bored. And the trouble is, Jonathan, the younger generation are never, ever bored because the algorithms keep them stimulate.
Well, the dopamine hits keep coming. I think it's actually a problem for all of us. Yeah. You know, now for anyone, if you just have a moment to yourself, a lot of people of all ages, what do we reach for? We reach for our phones, particularly for those. Obviously, if we're with a friend, we'll talk to them.
Your age group, you're not talking about.
I know that. I've spoken to a lot of people who are in their 50s and 60s who also will just, you know, if they have a free month on the tube or whatever, they'll just look at their phone and read. And it's actually terrifying because on the iPhone every Monday it tells you how much time you spent on your phone the previous week. And it's,
how much for you?
On average per day?
Fair few hours. I mean, a lot of that will be work.
What's the ballpark? Oh, more than 5?
Occasionally 5. Yeah.
You've got better things to do.
Spending 6 hours a day.
Do you never read a book?
Well, that'll be at night time.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, he might be the richest man in the world, but does that give Elon Musk a right to get involved in politics? Our politics we're talking about here.
We of course saw Nigel Farage at Mar-a-Lago yesterday in talks with Elon Musk, along with Reform's treasurer. So we're asking this morning, with those rumours swirling of £78 million being donated and possibly trying to cement his place here in Britain, should Westminster embrace Musk or should he back off? Let's get the thoughts this morning of our political commentator, Eamonn Bogle, and the activist and Labour member Aisha Ali Khan. Good morning to both of you. Let's start with you, Eamonn, because you believe that Musk has every right to donate £78 million, which would put Reform quite easily as the wealthiest political party in the country if it did so.
Well, look, I think this is about free democracy, and Musk is a great force for good when it comes to defending free speech, and he's out on a mission to help rescue free democracy here in the West. And I mean, just look at all the people who are now up in arms, venting against Musk because of this. You know, from the North London metropolitan liberal elite to the work from home, you know, great blob of the bureaucracy, to the SW1 hunter, to the democracy-denying, Brexit-betraying commissar of the Labour Party, led by that regular occupant from Lord Ali's flat in Covent Garden, Sir Keir Starmer. That tells you all you need to know why a lot of these people are venting against Musk, because he presents a real threat to not democracy, but to their orthodoxy and the bureaucracy.
Yeah, Aisha, what do you think? What do you think of Musk?
Morning, everybody. I just cannot agree with you, Eamonn. I'm sorry, but having a billionaire finance your political party in order to gain influence is completely wrong. And what makes me really worried is that we've had something similar in the past. We had Muhammad al-Fayed 20 years ago, in my living memory, by the way, when I was much younger. And look at the outcry back then. We cannot have rich people with too much time on their hands. They've tried everything, they've succeeded at everything, and now they think they can try to come to the UK and meddle with political affairs here. What makes me alarmed is that this friendship between Nigel Farage and Elon Musk and Donald Trump, this is nothing new. This has been on the cards for a long time. So it seems almost inevitable that this was going to be at some point a financial relationship. And I'm concerned that obviously we've had, I mean, you've just mentioned him in just the piece we did before. We've come on air about the summer riots and what happened. Let's be brutally honest, those riots happened because of social media, because of the spread of misinformation on social media. And Elon Musk is the owner of X, formerly known as Twitter, and that was fundamental to the spread of misinformation, people sharing, people spreading conspiracy theories, people activating, groups of people against one another. And I think it's really important to recognise the danger of Elon Musk and his influence. He's not he's not thinking of us, he's thinking of himself.
What way is he thinking of himself? Is she thinking about money, thinking about influence, thinking about just for the hell of it, the fun of it?
Look, like me, Elon Musk is an engineer. He brings solutions to problems. He brings reform to tired orthodoxy and a new hope for freedom. I mean, he's going to be heading with Vivek Ramaswamy in the US Department for Government Efficiency. And that's the type of thing we need here. And it's quite alarming to hear the other person on the line that this is exactly the type of socialist hypocrisy that people are fed up of. Let's just look at some of the people who are donating, some millionaires donating to the Labour Party. Dale Vince, Lord Ali. Let's not forget Lord Ali. How much has he paid to buy off?
Right, well, I'll tell you what. Where do you stand on if the state was to simply fund the main political parties or political parties and take it out of the hand of private individuals?
No, I think that would be a wrong way to head, because very simple, free democracy should mean that any group of people should be able to come together and form their political views and organize and get together to promote whatever they're standing for. And that's the essence of free democracy. The state has no place to play at all in helping fund free democracy.
Eamonn Bogal, a Conservative peer got caught out, probably didn't want to be quoted, but was found yesterday to say that Farage should be embarrassed about all of this, that he risks becoming a puppet of a foreign politician. What do you think of that?
I think it's quite remarkable for people to be saying that when for decades we've had foreign origin funding seeping into the British political system, into our political parties. Be it the dinner circuits where hundreds of thousands, millions of pounds get thrown in to the fray, to people like George Soros funding anti-democracy campaigns here in the UK and around the world. I mean, I was in India a few weeks ago and I saw some of the work that his foundations have been doing to undermine free democracy there. So it's a very wide, prevalent problem. And I think it's only about time that, in an ideal world, we'd have funding coming from the grassroots, we'd have funding coming from British businesses, and that would be it. But it's not an ideal world.
I should just lastly, lots of people on your say saying, hang on a minute, what about Labour and all the money they get from the unions? Why are there no questions about that? I mean, is the problem that this is about controversial characters, and actually we should just be talking about this as a principle? Forget whether this is reform, forget whether this is Musk and whatever they might have said or done in their past. Is it OK for foreign actors independently to get involved in British politics, irrespective of the party? Is it OK for the unions to give huge amounts of money to political parties?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. First of all, anybody donating through unions, everything is regulated and everything is transparent. The membership list is available. I'm a member of 2 unions and I have to give my details, my name, my address, my date of birth, everything. So it's not like invisible individuals donating money and then that money is being used to do something else with. So everything is transparent. Sorry, I worked in Westminster 12 years ago, and the checks and balances that they required of me, they wanted my grandparents' date of birth and place of birth. By the way, they were born in India. They wanted my parents' date of naturalization. They wanted every tiny detail about my family. And I didn't mind providing those details because I knew that they had to make the checks, they had to do all the checks to make sure I wasn't a foreign agent coming in to try and destabilise or infiltrate the British system. Yeah. So that's why I'm quite alarmed that as employees, we have to, and obviously members of parliament are included in this, we have to go through all these processes to safeguard democracy. And you can't have a billionaire come in and, sorry, man, you mentioned George Soros, but, you can't be a hypocrite and say, we've got
to leave it there. I'm sorry.
Guys, sorry, we're out of time. Really appreciate what you both have to say. For what it's worth, just to say, both of you, there is a big response from people watching and listening to us today in favour of all of this. Whether you're agreeable to that or not, there certainly seems to be a market for what is happening. Guys, got to leave it there. Thank you very much for taking part. Appreciate it. Thank you.
We're going to turn our attention to those inflation figures that came out just after 7 o'clock, up by 0.3% to 2.6%, which means things are more expensive than they were a year ago by 2.6%. It's above the Bank of England's own target. Here's what the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, has to say about it all.
The inflation numbers today show inflation at 2.6%. That is comparable to other countries around the world. In the United States, it's 2.7%, so slightly higher. In the euro area, it's 2.3%. So broadly in line with our international peers. I recognise that the cost of living crisis continues to bite. That's why in the budget we increased the national living wage, a pay rise for 3 million workers, and it's why we froze fuel duty so that motorists are not paying more at the pumps. So we recognise the challenges that families remain under and are taking action to address that ongoing cost of living challenge.
No mention that, you know, her tax on employers may have raised all of that, and that's
the
why
inflationary pay deals that she's given to all her pals as well as one of the big reasons behind this increase.
Okay, that's just us pointing that out. You have your say. Let us know what you think. Paul Coit with sport next.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Aberdeenshire, the A92 is blocked by an accident north of Stonehaven, causing queues. In Inverclyde, the A761 remains closed at Port Glasgow after an accident on Monday night. The Port of Holyhead remains closed for repairs. There are delays of up to 3.5 hours to the 2 p.m. Stena Line sailing between Fishguard and Rosslare. The M48-7 bridge is closed each way between Wales and England because of strong winds. Diversions by the M4 over the Prince of Wales Bridge. On the M25 in Essex, 2 out of 4 lanes are closed clockwise, but there's an accident halfway between junctions 29 and 30 from the A127 to the A13 causing queues. On the M3 in Surrey, there's a lane closed southbound where someone's broken down between junctions 2 and 3 from the M25 to Bagshot causing queues. And the M20 in Kent is partly blocked westbound by an accident between junctions 4 and 3 from Leybourne to the M26 with queues from junction 6 near Maidstone. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're just a bit worried, Paul Coit bleeding.
Don't draw attention to it.
What is it? Where is it?
No,
well, it's just on your nose. There's a hole.
Is it there?
There's a hole in your nose.
Oh no, is there?
I said don't.
My dog's got no nose.
Is that?
Oh, every time I do that joke, every 6 months with you, and you're supposed to say, How does it smell?
How does it smell?
My dog's got no nose.
How does it smell?
Terrible.
Ah!
Good, very good. So sports-wise, is it terrible, Marcus Rashford? He has basically declared, I want out of here, depending on who's going to cough up money for him. Who would be likely to cough up money?
You know what? I don't know. It's really tricky. I was trying to work out who may actually buy Marcus Rashford. If it was a year or so ago, everybody would be in for it. But now, City, would he move to City, even if the money was right? Would you move across Manchester?
I think there's too much politics involved.
I think so too. Chelsea, I don't think they've spent a fortune, so I don't think they're going to buy him as well. Arsenal, possibly. Real Madrid, probably too good. Saudi Arabia is whether he wants to go there, because there's always going to be money there.
And he's not going to play it at the level. I mean, you can get the money, but you're not going to have any, respectability. Really.
And also, £325,000 a week.
Maybe
Would you rather move and play football, or do you sit where you are?
I'd rather play football.
I would rather play football. I mean,
it depends. I mean, does he have dependents?
Well, how many?
How much do you need?
These people live within their means, don't they? They buy these ridiculous mansions and then they have to pay for them.
But you know what? You do have a good point, because there are footballers that earn so much money and then still lose it. I mean, I know footballers from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it all goes because they think it's coming in constantly. I can just play in this with it. And although for us it just seems absolutely outrageous, let's have a private jet, we'll do that, I can afford it, and then it's all gone.
What about Modric at Chelsea?
Yeah.
He might be losing money.
Well, this is a drugs test. So he's provisionally suspended now because he was out for hasn't played for 4 or 5 weeks. People thought it was illness, but it turns out he's failed a drugs test. This one is meldonium.
What is that?
Well, I thought that was a city in, like, The Wizard of Oz. I had no idea, or it was some very... But apparently it's this heart medicine. You remember Maria Sharapova, the tennis player, got banned? It's the same stuff that she'd taken.
Oh, well, it's definitely dodged then.
It was given to... I've done my research on this. It was given to Soviet soldiers in the 1980s in Afghanistan.
To keep them awake.
High altitudes, keep the heart pumping. So he says... it's a complete shock. I've never knowingly used any banned substances, which is most people say. So apparently the substance is not available in this country. So whether he's gone back to Ukraine to get it, or whether he's... we don't know.
To be determined.
To be determined. He's failed the first one. There's now going to be a B sample, and they've got to test that and see how that goes, and then we take it from there. But it doesn't look good for him.
I got on to an airplane one day, and I was sitting, I think, in row 3, and in row 2 came on the most beautiful woman, incredible.
Yeah.
But she had legs the length of a giraffe, right? Her legs went on and on and on and on. And she put her gear in the overhead locker, whatever it is.
Right.
Then I saw who it was. Maria Sharapova.
Oh, really?
Yeah, incredible.
Did she go to a bag for anything? Or?
She was going to Belfast.
Right, OK. Are you sure it was her? Are you sure it was Maria Sharapova?
But the question is, that's where I assume I was going. Maybe I wasn't going to Belfast. Maybe I was going somewhere else.
Yeah.
And she was, but anyway. No.
But it was definitely her.
Oh, it's definitely her.
Are you sure?
It was definitely her.
OK, she had a tennis racket in the overhead locker.
She said to me, hello, George. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm not George Clean. I'm
yeah, that old one.
The humble Irish broadcaster.
Yeah, so you called her Chris Evert, did you, just to try and cheese her off?
Baseball.
Right, let's have a quick look at this one. I love I love an auction when it comes to sports stuff. OK, have a look at this. There's a baseball here. It's a home run for the World Series, which happened in October. Freddie Freeman from the LA Dodgers hit a home run at the end of Game 1, landed at the feet of a 10-year-old called Zachary Rudderman.
Yes.
And Zachary kicked it to his dad. His dad picks it up and thought, well, I'll hang on to this. How much do you think the baseball went for?
How long ago was this?
It was only about a month or so ago.
Oh, right.
A month or two.
Oh, well...
But it's kind of historic, but it didn't win the whole thing.
Most sports memorabilia is rubbish, right? And not what people pay for it at auctions and things.
I'm just going to go $1 million.
$1 million?
So you think it's the real...
Well, I just feel like that's a good American number, like $1 million.
If it's like 20 quid, I'm not going to mention it, am I? So
go $1 million.
$1 million.
$1 million.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. Personally...
There it is. That's the ball. There it is. Look at that.
And it's funny what it means to people. If you had that in my house, I wouldn't care less. So
I mean, what do you do with it if you spend a load of money?
Look at it.
Just have it in a frame or something? I don't know.
All this memorabilia.
Yeah.
I can't understand you sports fanatics.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I've got loads of it.
Hard-earned cash.
Do you know I have Roy Keane shirt.
Couldn't care less.
In the grey...
Although I do like Roy Keane, just because he's lippy.
In the grey... you know the grey one that didn't work against Southampton? Fergie substituted them all at half-time. Took Jane's shirts at half-time. I have that.
But
Albert
Isabel...
Albert the Kit Man gave it to me.
But Isabel, your dress is famous, though, isn't it?
Yes, this is from American football.
No, I've got a picture. Here we are. This is it's memorabilia. I'm sure that's where you got that. Can we have a look? I'm sure we've got the Isabel dress from someone. There it is, Mork and Mindy. No, isn't that what it is? So
Very good.
There's no shoulder pads on there.
Oh, Robin Williams.
They just
I
go
met
with
him.
athletics.
He was a lovely man.
Was he? Yeah.
Oh, lovely man.
Troubled soul.
Troubled soul. So anyway, how much is the baseball going for?
$1 million.
Oh, whatever. $1.56 million. Who cares? You want to do? That's what it is. $1.56 million.
Why?
For the bull. So
Buy
that's
a
it.
house. Several houses.
Good time for a couple of birthdays before we finish?
Yes,
right,
always.
OK, showbiz birthdays. We've got no sports birthdays. Huge showbiz stars for birthdays today. First one, Brad Pitt. How old is he today, please?
61.
61 for Brad?
Yeah, 60.
Well, if you both agree 61 is the answer.
Yeah.
Very good. OK, we'll
by
go
the way,
again.
No, I'm not ready to move on from Brad. Can we just discuss the fact that I never thought he was attractive when he was young and such a pretty boy?
What, and now you think he is?
And now I think he's better than ever.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, the older man.
Aged well. No, I just thought he was too pretty when he was young.
Right,
and now he looks quite
See, I'm still the pretty boy and I haven't reached that older stage yet, but I understand.
When you hit 61, you'll look
I'm
like that.
sure, and that's a long way away. Right, so Steven Spielberg. Let's have a look at Steven there. Now, Steven Spielberg, can we have Steven, please? How old is Steven Spielberg? We're still on Brad Pitt. There he is Steven Spielberg.
He's looking his age.
Yeah, it's not quite the
trust me,
same
he's looking older than his age.
I'd say 75.
75.
I'll say 65.
65 for Spielberg?
OK, I don't know.
Jaws was a
70
long time
then.
ago. 78.
Ooh.
78. We'll go for a younger one.
All right.
A younger one, Billie Eilish.
Oh, she had a bracelet thrown at her yesterday.
Did she?
I'll say 20.
Lucky she didn't have that hat on because it probably would have kept it off.
Is she 20 yet? 20 today?
9 Grammys, 3 Brits, 2 Oscars, 2 Golden Globes.
And you would say she's
really young.
Really young. Oh, I don't know.
I was way off. I said 28 and
Am
I'm
I
way
close?
off. What do you say?
20.
20. In the ballpark.
25.
23.
Oh, OK.
Final one. This is the last one. There's a tricky one for you because he's seen a lot of years. The great Keith Richards of Rolling Stones. How old is Keith?
I'd say he's 80.
I'll go 79.
125 years old. Anybody that goes around calling people cat is all right in my book. 125 years old. Keith Richards, 81 today.
81.
81.
So Eamonn wins.
81.
Is what you're trying to say.
Very good.
I enjoyed
good
that
game.
so much.
Good game.
Good game.
Yes. Let's see the scores and the draws.
I don't like it when you do that.
Thank you very
I've
much.
never heard you do a Cockney accent.
It's Bruce Forsyth.
No, but can you do that forever? Because
Nice to see you.
Nice.
Yes.
Tonight's the night if you play your cards right. I'm the leader of the pack. That makes me such a lucky jack.
Yeah, indeed.
Oh, something I can't remember.
Something like that. Anyway.
We're back with the papers. What's in them after this?
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Unsettled at times across western parts of Europe with some strong winds and also some cloud and rain at times. Generally more settled as we head towards Greece, but some stronger northerly winds affecting Madeira, parts of Portugal and Spain, also dragging in some cloud, perhaps some showery outbreaks at times too. These could also feed into southern parts of France, northern parts of Italy too. Largely settled as we head towards Greece, plenty of sunny spells there, and it should be largely settled into the weekend with temperatures remaining fairly similar.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
I'm Emily Carver. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
The birth rate in Britain has sunk to 1.49,
well below replacement rate. Yet policies pursued by both major parties are still to spend huge sums to encourage parents back to their work when their children are still at preschool age. Should we not be helping parents to spend longer at home, asks his new book, whilst recognising that in an age of sex equality, the question is fraught. David Goodhart joins me now.
We undervalue the domestic realm, and that has led to lots of the most negative trends in British society. About half of children in the UK are not living with both of their biological parents by the age of 14. We have, of families with dependent children, about 24-25% are single-parent households. You know, mainly mothers, and they're doing, valiant work. But of course, it means you don't have the investment in children that a two-parent family can give. I mean, the reason why it's a care dilemma is that a lot of these negative trends are also kind of intimately related to positive things, like that movement of women into work, the fact that women are no longer so defined by marriage and motherhood, the fact that women and men are freer to leave unhappy relationships. And the challenge for modern liberal societies is, how we hold on to those freedoms but get a better balance, which means, I think, investing more in the domestic realm. We spend a total now of £9 billion on childcare subsidies. Why not give that subsidy direct to young parents so they could then choose whether to subsidise themselves, as it were, to be able to afford to stay at home, or to give it to a nursery, or to give it to granny, or to keep it in the home.
GB News.
Nightmare commute. Kick it up a gear with GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+ and on the GB News app. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player app. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with GB News Radio. We are the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We are. We've got Paula London and we've got Norman Baker. They've got the papers, but have you got many Christmas cards, Paula? That is the question.
Well, 6 out of 10 adults now receive fewer Christmas cards, and 75% do not care. I feel like what's happening now, a lot of people are getting e-cards, and my lovely follower, Victoria, I'd like to thank her because she sent me an e-Christmas card with my pictures on, etc., so I can send them to people. And yeah, e-cards are being sent a lot more, so people aren't getting the tangible cards.
I haven't had a single e-card, and I've had a doorstep full of cards. What about you? Any e-cards? No.
I've had 2 e-cards. I think part of the problem is the fact that the cost of a stamp these days is so enormous.
Oh, it's absolutely. Yeah, well, a lot of them have been hand-delivered, which is lovely.
And also, my brother's a postman, so I'm sort of against e-cards. I sort of think, give them the work, keep them work, send them
a card.
The cards, that's what I think.
Can we talk about this aircraft that took off without a pilot and managed to fly over the North Sea, Norman?
Yeah, this is described as a small but gutsy aircraft took off from Newcastle because the pilot was, he found the battery was flat, decided to hand-start the propeller, which is at the back, and lo and behold, the plane took off itself and went across the North Sea and said, bye-bye.
But he wasn't in it.
He wasn't in it. No, the plane just went off on its own.
My word.
So what, he thought he'd do it with a hand propeller and then leap in before it took off, but it was too quick for him?
He started the thing off without realising it, so it went off across the North Sea. Never been seen since. No one knows what happened to it.
Santa's maybe got that one.
Goodness me. Good job he wasn't in it.
Shot down by the Russians, who knows?
Oh, don't.
Paula. Losers.
Amen.
Many home accidents happen whilst on the toilet. So people in Britain are being warned about the dangers of going to the toilet.
Yeah.
Well, I got stuck in the toilet yesterday and I was with Isabel. And,
really? Sounds ominous.
We're in Piccadilly.
She didn't seem to care. She didn't come knocking on the door or anything.
I just didn't want to intrude. I assume you were taking your time.
Oh, so it's a nightmare. It really is a nightmare. But it's a nightmare being me, basically.
Oh. Well, you need to be careful because toilets are dangerous places.
Right, why?
Well, this is kind of strange. It says Brits are being warned about toilet dangers, with victims falling from loose seats. It's a major hazard, apparently. Yes. And 14% of domestic accidents happen while on the loo. So
I can
I've
believe
got no
that,
idea.
though. I'm actually, a lot of people die on the toilet, don't they?
Elvis died on the toilet.
Elvis did famously die on the
he?
toilet because you sometimes exert oneself. Anyway, this is way too graphic.
This is
Don't know where to go with this.
No, I know, absolutely.
But
no.
I tell you what we could do. Those things in disabled toilets, those bars and things that go down, I think they should be in all toilets because the amount of people that actually need them for leverage, you know, to get up and down and all that sort of
Well,
thing.
I think we're going to flush this one off
flush it away.
and flush it
I'd
away.
say happy Christmas to you
Yeah,
too. Thanks,
very happy
thanks
Christmas.
for coming in.
Lovely
to see you.
Here's your forecast with Honor Krizik.
A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's going to be a blustery day ahead in northern areas, then turning wet and very windy in parts of the south too, where it is going to be mild for the time of year. Particularly blustery across to the lee of high ground across the Pennines, where there is a yellow weather warning issued until earlier in the afternoon. And then there is going to be plenty of dry weather around to start, plenty of blustery showers around the northwest of Scotland, this falling as snow over the Scottish Highlands too. But then later on we'll start to see a change from the southwest, where we see more clouds spilling in and some outbreaks of rain, but still largely mild across the south, feeling chillier across Scotland though, particularly if you add on the wind chill. Now, as we head through into the evening, there should be some clearer spells, mainly to eastern parts of Scotland, but to the northwest, we're going to see plenty of those showers moving through. These showers are going to be blustery at times and falling as snow over high ground. Similar across Northern Ireland, we'll see those showers around coastal areas, but across parts of northern England, central and southern parts of England and Wales too, we are going to see more cloud and outbreaks of rain, this turning quite persistent and possibly quite heavy at times too, with the potential for some rainfall warnings, so do keep an eye on our website for those. This will slowly clear its way towards the southeast overnight through into Thursday, and we'll see plenty of clear weather to the north of this. Once again, though, still plenty of those blustery showers moving through around coastal areas, and it is going to be a cold night ahead. Unlikely to see a widespread frost as a result of the blustery weather, but a chance we could see some spots in sheltered areas. And then as we head through into tomorrow, there should be plenty of dry and clear weather around once that rain clears the far southeast. Still can't rule out those showers though moving through around western areas, and temperatures still feeling a lot colder for many of us as we head into the afternoon with those blustery winds. So saying goodbye to that milder weather, and particularly in exposed spots, it is going to be feeling chilly. That's it from me. Bye bye for now.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Aberdeenshire, the A92 is closed north of Stonehaven after an accident causing queues. The M66 in Greater Manchester is blocked northbound for an investigation between junctions 4 and 3. From the M60 at Sinister Island to Hollins, causing delays back along the M60 each way. The Port of Holyhead remains closed for repairs. The A1 in Nottinghamshire is closed southbound from Carlton to North Muscombe for an investigation causing queues. In Norfolk, the A47 is blocked by a problem between Lingwood and Blowfield, causing delays. There are delays of up to 3 hours to the 2 p.m. Stena Line sailing between Fishguard and Rosslare. The M48 Severn Bridge is closed each way between England and Wales because of strong winds. Diversions via the M4. On the M4 in the Vale of Glamorgan, 3 out of 5 lanes are closed eastbound after an accident between junctions 34 and 33 towards Cardiff, causing queues.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Good luck!
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Labour accused of a historic injustice.
The government refuses to compensate women born in the 1950s who were not aware of the rise in the state pension age.
The government does not believe paying a flat rate to all women at a cost of up to £10.5 billion would be a fair or proportionate use of taxpayers' money.
That's as the Liberal Democrat leader Ed Davies told us this morning he's demanding the government U-turns on the decision.
The independent ombudsman that's made these recommendations, I think the government needs to look at this, needs to change its mind, actually.
News this morning, inflation has increased to 2.6%. That's up from 2.3% last month. The Chancellor had this to say.
The inflation numbers today show inflation at 2.6%. That is comparable to other countries around the world. In the United States, it's 2.7%, so slightly higher. In the euro area, it's 2.3%.
But the Shadow Business Secretary, Andrew Griffith, had some choice words for the Chancellor.
Every day this week, we've had another economic statistic that's showing that Labour are taking the economy in the wrong direction. If you were flying a plane and you had so many metrics in the red, you'd be looking for the parachute.
A new report into the summer riots warns that police must be better prepared. That's on the same day as the teenager charged with the Southport murders of those children is due to appear in court.
Drunk on Christmas pudding? Well, Scotland is scoffing at the strict alcohol rules, which means they can't buy boozy Christmas puddings before 10 a.m.
Hello there, good morning. A blustery and cold day for northern areas, milder in the south, though we are expecting outbreaks of rain. I'll be here with all your details.
Just after 9 o'clock, well, nearly 2 minutes past 9, however you're watching, wherever you're listening, you're very welcome. This is Eamonn and Isabel, and this is GB News Breakfast.
We've just been sort of discussing between us what percentage Christmas we feel, and I think I'm pretty close to being 100%, you know. I got to get my daughter to finish school on Friday. My son's already finished. I've got all my presents. I've got to wrap them.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing fun on the horizon, light on the horizon, so I'm excited.
I need to find a wrapper.
You need to find a wrapper, yeah.
I do need to find a wrapper.
I'm sure there'd be plenty of people who just do an appeal. Anybody want to help? He'll pay good money, wrap his Christmas present.
I will pay good money.
Yeah.
But there are professional agencies that do it.
They'll charge you a fortune. You could just find, you know,
But I have to find time to get to the professional people. They have to be able to take it.
Just send them a direct message. There you go. Sort that one for you.
Okay.
I reckon there's loads of people who would do that for you.
And it's, do you know when people say, I mean, I am very anti the excess at Christmas. I like the company, I like the food, I like various things, but the excess of just, you know, oh, a pair of glasses, that's lovely. I've always wanted those. That's amazing. You know, too much. You don't need anything. I'd rather my, you know, gifts to me or whatever were donations that went to charities.
Exactly what my dad asked for.
Really?
Christmas, yes, I've done a CAFOD donation.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I've done two of their, on their website. They've got lots of Christmas packages. And anyway, Dad, if you're watching, pretend you didn't hear that. But he said he doesn't want anything, just doesn't want stuff.
Stuff
so
is
it's
a
quite
good,
nice
good
thing to do
description
for
with it.
charity,
No, you know, if you're a child, you'll have all the stuff that's going, and you know, there'll be a time in your life when things are important for you to receive.
Yeah, but I also hate that. Not being funny, but I get a bit sick with the amount of presents that my children get on Christmas Day. Makes me really queasy.
I know exactly.
I see the wrapping paper stacking up. I see them kind of not even taking in each gift. They're on to the next one, and I'm like, this is grotesque.
Do you know what the problem is? The problem is not, say, parents who might buy their child gifts or whatever. The problem is other
people who love them,
relatives and whatever.
Yeah.
And you'll start to say, oh,
I know,
that
the
and-
tap,
and
the
that,
plastic
and that.
tap.
And then the kids don't have appreciation for what's there and
I
what
know.
Santa has brought them as
We
well.
always try to say experiences, you know, take them to Legoland or something like that. And they're pretty good. No, they're pretty good now, but...
Put them in front of the television and say, great, that's on for 4.5 hours. Watch that one.
It's a Christmas
really
present
good.
to mummy if you do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, what percentage Christmas are you feeling this morning? I'm about 98%. You are...
A bit frightened because this is my last day before Christmas.
fear. Yeah, mine too.
I've been marched out of here, or else they take your holiday leave off you because
Forced to have holiday.
I work so hard. I don't take holidays. You see, that's what happens.
Story.
And so anyway, you'll not see me until the new year.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. But do you know what's really brilliant?
Yeah.
And we were amongst people who were out yesterday, and.
Including some viewers stopped us.
This is what I'm saying. We met so many people who watched GB News and who were so nice to us, and people were saying very lovely things, weren't they? They were very nice.
Yeah. They said you were less attractive in the flesh, and they said I was more attractive in the flesh.
Of course, you see, that's good. I mean, I obviously look gorgeous on TV, and you don't. You see, but so you
What
deserve
was it
that little
specifically?
bonus.
He said something like, "Oh, you're not as fat as I thought." One of the... I was like, "What a thing to say!" I went home and I thought, "Wow, thank you for that backhanded compliment." Anyway, you know who you are. Where are we? What are we doing? Should we do some news?
Silence.
Silence. Yeah,
Silence.
I think they're ready for us to move. Are you ready for us to move on?
Right.
Good.
The
right.
top story we've got for you this morning is the government's been accused of hypocrisy. This is about this compensation for women who will be in their 60s and they will not get a pension for a good few years later than they had ever expected.
Well, campaigners have said that almost 4 million people born in the 50s were impacted by that decision of the government yesterday, which would up the pension age for women in 2010.
The Work and Pension Secretary, Liz Kendall, has attempted to justify this decision, and this is what...
The government does not believe paying a flat rate to all women at a cost of up to £10.5 billion would be a fair or proportionate use of taxpayers' money.
And there is anger amongst Labour MPs, with the government accused of turning their back on pensioners.
Several years ago, Liz Kendall, there you see her there, she was pictured campaigning with the Women Against State Pension Inequality. So too was the Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner. 2019 is the year. This is what she had to say then.
You said we'll right that injustice, and within the 5 years of the Labour government, we will compensate them for the money that they've lost. This is their money that they've had stolen off them, and it's completely unacceptable.
Within 5 years, less than 5 minutes, and they backtracked on that. Let's talk to our reporter, Adam Cherry, about all of this. This has gone down really badly, hasn't it?
Yeah, really badly, actually. You heard from Liz Kendall, the Department for Work and Pensions Secretary there, saying it wouldn't have made a significant impact if, or it wouldn't have made a significant difference if those affected had known earlier. In fact, they say that most already did know, and it would cost £10.5 billion or more of taxpayers' money to refund them or to reimburse them at this point. They say that cannot be justified. Talking of things which are justified or not, it is worth reading the words of the Prime Minister, the then leader of the opposition, Keir Starmer, who said just over 2.5 years ago to a local radio station, "This is a real injustice. All your working life, you've got in mind the date on which you can retire and get your pension, and just as you get towards it, the goalposts are moved and you don't get it. It's a real injustice. We need to do something about it."
Well, instead of doing something about it, he moved the goalposts yet again, did he not? And that's the thing about Starmer and any politician in general who says they stand for a certain thing, and then when they get the chance to be in power and to do something about it, they don't, Adam.
Well, you're right, Eamonn. Yeah, I mean, pensioners in particular may be angry about this. Well, of course they would be, but given that it's now the second time that something like this has happened, remember the winter fuel allowance cut during the election campaign, or rather throughout their tenure in opposition, Labour promised they'd have a plan for pensioners and for providing them warmth in the winter, and now of course they've cut it. So it does beg the question, are they playing a long game here? Are they really thinking about the cost to voters? Are they going to pay a price for it? They argue they make hard decisions that ultimately will bear fruit in the long term, but again, they're making a lot of these decisions and they're making them very unpopular.
Yeah, OK, thanks very much, Adam, appreciate it. Let's speak to... sorry, we're not ready yet to speak to our next guest, so perhaps we'll stay with you, Adam, a word or two more, if you will, on some of the other politics of the day. We got those inflation figures out a little bit earlier on, 2.6%, up 0.3%, more bad news for Labour, who obviously, I mean, we saw the words of Andrew Griffith there saying if you were flying a plane with all of these red lights flashing, you'd think it was time to grab the parachute.
Yeah, it's an awkward one for them. Their entire mantra is growth and getting the economy stabilised. Actually, it looks like things are running away from them a little bit. So they are in trouble over this one. You know, we'll see. It was one of the only things that Rishi Sunak actually, as Prime Minister, delivered on. He got inflation to around 2%, more than halved it, which is one of his priorities. And now it seems that through these decisions, through these inflation-busting pay rises to unions and to public sector workers, we're seeing it creep up again, which makes everyone poorer. And, you know, with tax rises coming to businesses in the next year with the budget, people are going to feel squeezed. And again, it's these unpopular decisions. You're supposed to feel richer and supposed to feel like your money is working more for you after the end of this government. That's the whole point of Labour's policy platform here. That's what they say they want to do. And yet, if you look at the figures, things are going in another direction. So it's not good news just before Christmas for them, like you say. So we'll see. But you heard from the Chancellor earlier.
OK, thanks very much indeed, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
Appreciate it.
OK. Time now for the Great British Giveaway, and
it is great.
It is great. It's 50,000 quid's great. It's tax-free, and it could be yours.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Now, during Advent, as we count down to Christmas Day, and it is a week today, no less, this is your official reminder, we're hearing from church ministers across the country. Every day they have a special message, especially for our GB News audience, to help you get ready.
And this is to help you celebrate the festive season and send out that message as to what it's all about and how you can be involved.
The GB News Advent Calendar, Day 18.
Hi, I'm Richard England, Vicar of Crofton Parish. I wonder how good you are at asking for help. Some of us find it quite hard. We take pride in doing things ourselves, even if it takes longer or proves unsuccessful. Asking for help seems like weakness. The Christmas story, though, is God coming to help us, to redeem us and our world from the mess that we've got ourselves into. But in order to acknowledge that, to recognize that, it means we have to be honest that we might need help. Christmas Story says that help is here and hope has come, but it offers us a question and a challenge. Are we willing to ask for the help that we have been given?
And you can see more of those Advent messages as Christmas approaches. As Isabel says, 1 week away. You visit gbnews.com/Advent, ADVENT.
Now, poll of the day. We've been asking you all morning, do you agree with the government's decision not to compensate WASPI women? Those are the Women Against State Pension Inequalities. So far, 18% of you agree that they did the right thing, but how many disagree?
Well, it means that 82% we've got here registered today say you disagree with the whole situation, so you're in favour of the women there. And I think there is a lot of sympathy for people there. Yes, you were told, or you should have been told, the word went out that things were going to change. A lot of you didn't get that message, but there we go, and there will be a final result if you want to reconsider what you're saying or you want to take part with Martin Dobney this afternoon.
Yes, and to cast your vote, go to gbnews.com/poll.
OK. We'll take a break. We've got Andrew Pearce and Beverly Turner to talk to about what's coming up in their show over the next couple of hours. That's next.
I'm Ellie Costello, and thank you so much for joining us here on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's a time for the vegan community to get together, as well as an opportunity for non-vegans to try going plant-based.
Well, joining us now is from her delicious hummus, and we both love hummus, this is a great thing. This is the founder of Chickpea, Hannah McCollum. Hannah, lovely to meet you. And you've brought in some of your beautiful products in front of you here, so can you talk us through some of them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a range of chilled hummus, and then latest to the range are a new ambient snack pot, which is a fridgeless hummus that doesn't require refrigeration. But I started Chickpea because of my love for hummus, but also sustainability and reducing food waste and encouraging people to be more plant-based without saying go vegan.
Does normal, say, traditional hummus have anything that's not vegan appropriate in it?
Not really.
No.
I think
it's always chickpeas, olive oil, maybe some other bits.
Yeah, lemon juice, aquafibre or water to help with consistency, garlic, and rapeseed oil or olive oil.
And there's a bit of a misconception about veganism that I hear a lot, where people say, look, I'm not a vegan, I love my steaks, I'll just get out of there now. But there's a misconception that you don't get the protein, you don't get the fats, and you're kind of just eating processed salads and, fake meat and things. But that's not quite the case, especially with chickpeas, right?
Yeah, I think protein is really important, and actually a lot of people think I need a certain amount of fish every week or meat, but actually a lot of the fish and meat that you're eating are eating higher protein foods, so algae, seaweed, pulses, all these types of plant-based foods. For me, veganism is like you could have a delicious rye seeded bread with just loads of roasted vegetables, seeds, tahini sauce on top.
That sounds
and there's nothing beige in there at all.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Simon Evans, and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Funny old story. Shoppers in Scotland have been left shocked after being blocked from buying Christmas puddings with alcohol in them before 10 a.m.
Well, I can see the technicality here. It's a ban on alcohol. You're not allowed to buy it before 10 a.m. because Scotland has a terrible drink problem.
I know, but I
the
think
way Ireland has a terrible drink problem.
But you think of all the people like your mum or my mum who would go to the supermarket.
Well, my mum's
first thing,
dead, so
back in the day, would go to the supermarket
7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, but to beat the crowds, get a parking space, would want to get her pudding all sorted, and can't do it. So it's a strange old story.
We never ate pudding.
Or we would like the Christmas pudding. That's a Christmas tradition without fail.
No, we never. It's only now, at my tender age of 46, that I think of even eating Christmas pudding.
Yeah, I don't like it, but I like it. There's a song in that.
Yeah, but that's only been the last sort of couple of years that I've tried to dip into, have a bit of that. But so the thing is, with the alcohol business, everything comes under a general rule, and that's what happens. But you think there should be exceptions to certain rules?
Well, Waitrose has been forced to apologise to their customers over what they think is a temporary error.
Yeah, well, I think it is a temporary error, as long as you get somebody to untemporise it. Let's go to our Scotland reporter, Tony Maguire. Tony, where are you this morning? And tell me what you can't buy.
Good morning, you two. Well, I'm actually on Byres Road in Glasgow, just across the road from another branch of Waitrose that is here in the city. Glasgow has 3 of them, and a different branch over in Newton Mearns. Well, that was where an elderly couple, Stuart Meldrum and his wife Carol, they'd gone in to try and buy a tiramisu just before 10 o'clock in the morning, and the machine, as you can imagine, self-checkouts machine, where I told them to go and ask to speak to staff. And of course the staff said that no, they couldn't sell them, and this is because Scotland has perhaps the strictest alcohol licensing laws of anywhere in the UK. Alcohol can only be bought between 10 AM and 10 PM. And until recently, that even included things like chocolate liqueurs. However, alcoholic desserts such as tiramisu, well, that falls into something of a grey area. Now, Eamonn, as you just mentioned there, this has partly been over the years to combat Scotland's terrible drink problem, and indeed, even now, the latest figures coming out of Scotland show that 1,200 people died from alcohol poisoning here in Scotland last year, alcohol-related deaths, should I say, and given the current figures available, that is still the highest in Europe. Now, various things have been tried over the years, including the changes to the times that you can buy alcohol, as well as lowering the drink drive limit. Elsewhere in the UK, you'll find it's 35 mcg per 100 millilitres of breath. Well, here in Scotland, that's as low as 22. It's about a third less. So all of this really begs the question, if people can't buy alcoholic desserts. I couldn't buy this tiramisu here this morning, but you know, me being me, I went out, covered all my bases and bought one last night. So this morning, over the course of this morning, I'm going to try and polish off this 5 portions of Waitrose tiramisu. It is actually made with Marsala wine, and it's about 1.2%, which is over the limit of which alcohol needs to be in a product in order for it to be classed as an alcoholic product. And just after I try and polish off this, we're going to try a little breathalyzer test. Now, it's quite early, so forgive me for not having made much of a dent in this already, but I'm sure over the course of the morning, you know, it'll be interesting to see whether polishing off 5 portions of tiramisu brings me even close to coming over the drink drive limit here in Scotland.
That will be very interesting to see, very interesting to see. But you did hint earlier on, you said this may be a temporary setback. Do you think, or how would that come about to sort that out?
So I actually have a very different view of this, Eamonn. Now, typically in the law, when exceptions are made, they're usually made quite specifically. So the 2005 Licensing Act, the Licensing Scotland Act, prohibited the sale of alcohol to those time zones. It wasn't until 2017 that changes were made to allow the sale of chocolate liqueurs. But certainly there's no mention of dessert, so I wonder whether this is a glitch or whether poor tiramisu falls in that grey zone.
OK, Tony, thanks for explaining that. Look forward to seeing you throughout the day and what goes on. Thanks very much indeed, Tony.
Now, stand by. Britain's newsroom is fast approaching at 9:30 with Andrew Bev and Bev Turner, and you've got a jam-packed morning.
They're always on the liqueurs, those two.
But what a stupid rule. My mum, as his kids actually, we were outside Marks and Spencer's Christmas Eve, ate 8:30.
How
Get
posh.
the vegetables. Only a time of the year we went to Marks and
Okay, yeah,
Spencer.
but absolutely, it's those sort
and
of
you'd buy the Christmas
law-abiding
pud.
mums that are going to be
Absolutely.
there.
Stupid rule.
Oh dear.
We're actually going to get him to do a breathalyser, aren't we, on our show? We're going to get
he's going to eat the tiramisu.
After he's consumed a pudding.
We are.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But I suppose it's the idea that these people were shoveling multiples of them in, so get them to have a few.
It
I don't like
puddings.
You'd have to have a lot.
You know, people who...
I don't like them.
I don't like those things.
No.
We're going to be talking about Elon Musk. It looks even
Yeah.
more
What do you
likely
think
now.
about this?
Well, I talked a lot last week to Nick Candy, who's now the Reform Treasurer, was a big Tory donor, and he's in contact with Musk a lot. Now we know he's been with him in Mar-a-Lago with Trump, at Trump's place.
Why do you think billionaires are so attracted to reform?
Power, yeah. And Musk has fallen out with the Prime Minister big time. And it's tweaking his tail. Easy money for him, isn't it? And he can do it. So if he pays the money through one of his British companies,
What does
the
that
British
mean
arm of
for
Twitter.
For people, anyone who goes on Twitter, they're effectively supporting reform.
Yeah.
They're very much aligned on values, Elon Musk and Nigel Farage, absolutely aligned on ideology and politics. And at the base of all of that sits freedom of speech.
Yeah.
Well, you haven't got
That
any
is
freedom
what
of speech now because...
That is what they believe
We're
in.
out of time. We're cutting you off for the liqueur.
You're looking fabulous,
thank you
by the
very
way.
much
You look
indeed.
gorgeous, Isabel.
I don't know what it is. It's the
And
shoulder
you-
pad energy.
And Eamonn always
You look
looks fabulous,
gorgeous.
obviously.
Thanks, guys.
Have a lovely Christmas, whatever
Bye.
you're doing.
Merry Christmas.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's going to be a blustery day ahead in northern areas, then turning wet and very windy in parts of the south too, where it is going to be mild for the time of year. Particularly blustery across to the lee of high ground across the Pennines, where there is a yellow weather warning issued until earlier in the afternoon. And then there is going to be plenty of dry weather around to start, plenty of blustery showers around the northwest of Scotland.